I'm gonna do this one. Good evening, everyone. How you doing, fam? Hope y'all well. Excuse our delay. Just probably more of a need to get some stronger internet or system. But anywho, want to thank all you all for tuning in, or as you're coming in. We'll let you get yourselves settled in. Hope you had a good week. This is a different evening for us that we normally do Tuesday, but we wanted to do this night. This is a special night. We have some special guests on that I am so excited to have on to assist us in assisting you into making a correct and educated vote in this year's election. We know that this is a very pivotal election, and we just, as we always do with everything that we do, we wanted to be able to give you an opportunity to hear from some experts and make the most educated decision when you vote. So, anything you want to say?
No, just welcome. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. And we are ready to get the souls to the polls, like our shirts say on tonight.
Yeah.
So welcome. Tag someone who you know would need to would be benefited by this information that we're going to share on tonight, so that, like my husband said, can make an educated assessment of who we want to represent us in the next coming seasons.
So first person I'm gonna bring in, and I'm gonna bring actually the whole team in, but and I'm gonna allow him to introduce everyone. But it's my brother, my god brother, that came on a few weeks ago and shared different voting information with us. So now we're going to go more deep into it. So let me welcome Pastor Curtis Smith with Faith in the Valley. You got your mute on, sir. And I'm going to bring in your other folks.
All right. Well, there you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you now.
All right. Well, thank you again for having us back. Looking forward to diving deep in this conversation. I'm not going to prolong a lot of time. Just want to know that this is a great team that I was able to gather together today in order to inform us and educate us on tonight. And so we have one of our greatest organizers of Faith in the Valley, strong sister Tony McNeil there, and just her to give her a minute to but she's waving. I don't know if you ever want to add anything to that wonderful introduction I just gave. But also I want to introduce to you all is that a young brother that I just basically had the privilege recently of meeting, and we've been actually rocking a lot since that first introduction. And his name is Michael Baldwin. Michael, I'm gonna just give you a few minutes to go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Michael Baldwin, and today I'm a CEO of MBS Consulting, I'm a professional development trainer for the Modesto City Schools. I'm also a trainer for some of our law enforcement officers on race relations and community building. I'm also the criminal justice chairman for the NAACP of Stanislaus County. I work at the law offices of Tracy Lum, and I'm also formerly incarcerated. I served 26 years in prison. And so I'm just grateful to be here this evening, and thank you for allowing me to share this space.
Oh, we are glad to have you, sir. Definitely glad to have you. All right. Before we get started, Curtis, we got a whole nother team that's with us as well. And we are really blessed because we met this man about 2 weeks ago, and we had a great conversation. And so we reached out to him, and honestly, it was last minute, and he was more than willing to help us. And he did it so well, he brought a team too. So I want to introduce Daryl Poole. They're part of the legal service for prisoners with children. So I'm going to bring Daryl on and then bring his team on, and I'm going to let him introduce the team. So Daryl, are you there, sir? Oh, you're muted.
Yes, I am.
There we go.
How everybody doing?
Add as well.
We're good.
All right, you got it, sir.
All right. How you doing? My name is Daryl. I am Sacramento's All of Us or None, LSPC. Today, I brought with me Mr. William Tyreek Palmer, as well as Paula from the Oakland office at All of Us or None. And we're here to talk about Prop 17. So it was definitely a blessing when I met y'all. So I'm thankful for being here, and I'm thankful for my team calling in at the last minute and letting them come on. So I'll let them introduce themselves. So Paula, and then as well as Tyreek.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. So I'm Paula Lehman Ewing. I write the All of Us or None monthly newspaper, which we distribute across the country and also to approximately 450 incarcerated individuals. I also help run the Prop 17 campaign that is funded by Legal Services for Prisoners with Children and part of the Free the Vote 2020 coalition. So it's really a pleasure to be here to talk about this very important and significant proposition. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is William Palmer, and I recognize a lot of faces on the screen. My brother Michael, we've done some work together.
That's what I'm talking about. Network. That's what I'm talking about.
Our circles are small as our world is large. I did 31 years and 22 days as a juvenile convicted as an adult. I fought my way out of prison by sneaking through the back door into the appellate court division. And now on November 3rd, I'll go before the California Supreme Court and order arguments to be let off parole as a continuation of cruel and unusual constitutional excessive punishment of 23 years of my 31 years. I am a podcaster myself for Uncut Underground. You can find it on SoundCloud. My editor is right there, Paula. And I'm a core member of Abolish Slavery National Network, where we seek to help the states that still have slavery and involuntary servitude in the Constitution of the states, as well as eventually the United States. I believe that this country no longer in 2020 and beyond should ever have the word slavery or involuntary servitude in any document that is federal, state, city, and other. And that would be the icing on the cake for me to get that done. And just recently, I have been appointed to the San Francisco Sentencing Commission. I'm a new commissioner for that organization. And I was just in jail in May, where my zealous parole officer had been trying to put me back in prison so he could derail my efforts to help tens of thousands of other youth offenders get out of prison. And once the sheriff was locking me up, and now I'm on his council, the district attorney's council, to make sure that sentencing is fair for everybody, especially Black men who are disproportionately showing up in our criminal justice system. So I'm there to give credibility to where credibility is needed. That's who I am.
All right, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So just want to say likewise, I'm just coming from work, so I'm a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I did 30 years in prison. I only been out for 2 years. Well, 2 years would be in November 6th. So I have not yet met that mark, but definitely I want to let everybody know that this is what we are doing. This is the change process that a lot of people don't see. Is the men and women that come up out of these institutions, but a lot of times when they was up in these institutions, this, wasn't fully developed, so all they did was let out fully developed men and women, to come out here and get on this cast right now that we're talking about, to talk about Proposition 17 and all the propositions to make sure people vote, because I can't vote. I'm a taxpayer and I just bought my first home 2 weeks ago. So I'm just asking everybody, please vote for Proposition 17 so I can vote. So not just electing presidents, we talking about what about city council? What about the district attorney? What about the sheriff? What about all that? So we need to build our community, because all this stuff ain't gonna happen if we're not a part of, So that's why I brought my team in. I said, your team, and let's pull everybody together, because we can make a difference. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you for agreeing to join us on such short notice and bring a team. We appreciate you all. All right.
So Curtis, or Pastor, I'm gonna be official tonight, sir. We're gonna let you go ahead and start off and get us going.
All right, sounds good. First of all, again, thank you all for opening up this platform. So we're gonna have this poll party tonight, and so we're gonna get our people educated and informed. We want them to vote, but we want them to be educated and informed voters. And so I'm so glad to see the team that we're coming together. We have been rocking with All of Us or None for many years within our organization. I'm doing a lot of our work for restorative justice and live free. And so I'm glad to see my brothers representing that organization and being together tonight. So I'm just going to kick it off. First, I want to say, for those of you who are watching and come here to get information on the propositions, we know that there are candidates on there. And as he was saying, we want you to be informed about, do your research about your candidates, your city council candidates, your county supervisors. With any of this system, when it comes to the government, if you're not at the table, you are on the menu. Like if you're not at the table, you are on the menu. And this is a part of being at the table, is your vote. That's important, and as you heard from our brother Daryl, for those of our brothers and sisters, our family that can't vote, we have an obligation. We have a duty. This is our vote. Can nobody take it from us or guide us in it? We make our own informed decisions. And so we have an obligation to support our brothers like Daryl in this moment, for those of our brothers and sisters who are not unable to vote, those of our undocumented brothers and sisters that are unable to participate in the system, that do pay taxes, but then can't also be a voice that's heard in this governmental system. So that is what I want to lift up tonight. I want you to get your ballots. If you haven't already sent them in yet, I want you to get your ballots or get a piece of paper or something so you can take notes tonight, so that you will be able to, fill it out correctly, and that you won't try to remember the information, because we're going to go through quite a bit, on tonight. And again, as we are coming together for my organization, Faith in the Valley, we are a nonpartisan organization. So we don't tell you so much, I should say, we do not do candidate endorsements. We do top propositions, and everything. And we will tell you some propositions that we are looking forward to because of the people that we represent. We're always listening to the people's voice. So there's some we will uplift, basically because of the people that we feel are closest to the pain are the ones with the greatest solutions. And we have talked to the people, and we're coming to you with informed information about where the people are landing. And I say our people, our brothers and sisters, who usually not heard, where they're landing in some of these propositions. Some of them we will say that we're taking a neutral stance, and ask you and give you, I should say, a way of becoming more informed so that you can make your decision based on your values. I would say vote your conscience, but a lot of times our consciences are formed by so many things these days. So I want to say vote your concerns. What are your concerns? What are your values and everything? And then as you understand what your concerns and values are and what you want this for our future to look like as a city, as a state, as a country, then you find out who aligns itself with your values, and that's who and where you go with the cast your vote. Vote your concerns, vote your values in this situation. As we get forward, we're going to start at the top of the propositions. I'm trying to give you a little time, get your ballots in order. But before we leave, I also want you to be educated about how you're voting. We got some information. Probably Pastor Tony, look at our Pastor Elder Tony will share with us some of the things that we're hearing, as to say, basically from the official campaign entity are also showing we're the lowest ones responding right now. So we're going to give you all of that information, but we're going to hop into the propositions, and we got a great, wonderful team here. So I'm going to give a context of the proposition, what a yes and a no may mean, and then as we go along, I'm going to pass it on to people that I feel like got more information or you can explain it better context than me. Tony, you raising your hand?
I am. It's a couple of things, Pastor Curtis. So one is I want to make sure that as you have your ballots, also make sure, because if you're princessy like me, I say that, no, yeah. Anyway, as you, if you like to write with colors in order to use your right brain artistic self, make sure that you use a black ink pen with your ballot. Do not write in pink, purple, red, gold, silver, pencil, blue, or any other color. Black ink is what you need to use when you are engaging with your ballot. That was one. The other thing that I wanted to lift up is vote. Yes, vote your conscience. You want to be very prayerful. You want to do all of that. You also want to vote with people in mind that you love and that you care deeply about. If you engage this ballot simply from only what impacts you directly, you may be engaging the ballot excluding those individuals that are impacted, that you might have influence to change some of the policies or the laws. For example, I've never been incarcerated. However, most of the folks I've rocked with have. So if I approach this ballot simply from the posturing of incarceration as it pertains to just me, I, Tony, as a person, and not from my loved ones and those that are outside of my immediate scope, then I'm not using the power that I have to exercise the vote. So I need to vote also for the individuals that can't vote, the individuals that need me to vote, and the individuals that are depending on me and their life is reliant upon my vote.
Good explanation.
All right, thank you, Tony. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop into the propositions. I see there is a message on the bottom of your screen. I want to kind of explain that to you as you go in. This actually pertains to a couple of the propositions we're going to talk about today, but I just want to kind of give you some incentive. So those of you who actually see on the screen, text SCFFIV to 40649. It's a pledge card in order to commit that you're going to vote or you have already voted. Even if you have already voted, you can still say that you have already voted and you can participate with this pledge card. It only asks you some personal information for your name, your address, if you in the organization, as a part of your organization, if you put in there FNA concepts for your organization, we will know that you actually did this on tonight. And then when we see the list, when it gets reported to us, you will be entered into drawing per se, and there will be something great that we will announce again on an upcoming show. I'll work out that with the host, and everything of who actually, won that drawing. But a little incentive. I think you'll have enough incentive after we get through with the show, but just a little incentive. Text SCFFIV to 40649 and fill out the pledge card for us tonight. All right, let's get going. So we're starting with proposition number 14.
Yes.
Okay, so Prop 14. Where's my ballot at now? I told everybody else to bring their ballot out. For real though. Yeah, I want to blame it on my wife. She was in here with me, but I won't do that. But Proposition 14, I'm going to tell you what it does. What's the concept around it? What it does is issues $5.5 billion in bonds for the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine, CIRM. This is a state program created in 2004 to fund stem cell research projects, including research involving embryos, stem cells. So Prop 14 makes changes to the governance structure and the programs of CIRM, including increased efforts in new positions to improve patient access to stem cell treatment. A yes vote on Prop 14 means that the state could sell $5.5 billion in general obligation bonds to fund CIRM operations and additional grants. A no vote on Proposition 14 means the state could not sell such bonds. Some of the questions that have come into play that, has been about, about bonds. It opens up a large, basically a pool of thought process of what's stem cell research, what's a bond, what does that mean about paying it back? It basically creates a debt and it does have to be paid back. And basically, when I say about voting your concerns, people have different thoughts about what they think about stem cell research and the performance of this research on human embryos, and whether, this is, live people or not, or whether they feel that it's life at that stage. So people hang out in different places. So you have to know your values and your concerns when it comes to this type of research in order to determine where you are hanging out and whether you vote yes or no. So in my presentation here is that's basically a neutral stance here, and it depends on, your values of where you're landing on that proposition, for you to determine, what is important to you. For the next proposition 15, please, I'm looking at some of my notes, Fred, so if you guys see some questions that come up in this summary or you're gonna hold them off, just let me know, the way that you wanna do that. I'm gonna roll to the next proposition, proposition 15, and I'm going to actually turn this over to Tony to present this one.
Okay. So I was going to throw a note in the chat as well. On 14, I want to keep us in mind that from what I understand, keeping up with everything, the state of California, just so that we are informed, is already, if not we're approaching close to a $54 billion deficit when it comes to the budget because of the pandemic that we're in. And that Prop 14 also would require $260 million payback over a process of 30 years. And so for those that aren't considering the ethical part when it comes to, the stem cell research, there are the other people that consider the budgetary impact that such propositions will cost. And so I wanted to make sure we have that information as well. So with Prop 15, just going straight off of the ballot, it increases funding sources for public schools, community college, and local government services by changing tax assessment of commercial and industrial property. Initiative constitutional amendment. And so it would be an amendment on Prop 13, which was passed in 78 and implemented or pushed forward in 75. Taxes such properties based on current market value instead of the purchase price. Physical impact, increase property taxes on commercial properties worth more than $3 million, providing $6.5 billion to $11.5 billion in new funding to local governments and schools. So if you vote yes on this, on Prop 15, Prop 15 would be a reassessing of tax for big corporations, big businesses, such as properties like Disneyland, properties such as Shell, Chevron, big corporations that have property that is being assessed at a property tax value from I believe it is 78 is where it capped at. And so they are receiving those huge tax breaks. It will not at all impact or change the way that property under Prop 13 has been assessed for homes, for ag, and for small businesses. If a business is still 3 million and under on an annual, as far as an annual income of what they bring in, then they are considered a small business, and it will not impact those. This will simply change and assess those big businesses that are still that their property is being assessed. It will generate $12 billion annually into the budget for the state of California. 40% of that will directly go into our schools. We don't have to advocate or organize for it. And the other 60 goes into the county budget, not the general, but for community services and community needs. We would need to organize a little bit in order to make sure that, we want to know where those funds are going to go. On a local level, each state, each city has a breakdown. For example, I'm in the San Joaquin County. In the San Joaquin County, it would be 90 million, and that's the low number, 90 million annually that would be generated. 40% of that would go into our schools and communities. And so for Faith in the Valley, we actually have done a lot of research and organizing on this and strongly recommend that you vote yes on Prop 15.
Just want to add to that is that when she mentioned about the 40% going to the schools, if you go to, and you can probably put this in the chat, if you go to CTA.org, that's California Teachers Association, CTA.org, there is a fund calculator, a estimated calculator on there that you can pull up the school, the county, and the actual school that your child is going to, or the area that you're in, and you can see the estimated amount of money going towards that particular institution. I know for a fact that my great friend, Pastor Corey Porter, is opening up or has a Fortune School. There is a lot of my great pastor friends are part of the Fortune schools that are in the great city of Sacramento, and those schools are also listed. You can go on there and see the amount of money. And the correlation, as she was mentioning, the correlation we have found is that when this law went into effect, that's when our schools started being depleted of their funding. So why did we lose auto shop? Why did we lose home economics? Why did we lose a lot of extracurricular situations? Why did teachers have to start buying their own supplies for their students? Why did students have to start sharing books and materials because the teachers didn't have enough money? And recently, I just found out is that from the teachers union is that there is not enough money to open the schools properly for them to basically sanitize them and make them a safe place for the students to return. The issue is almost not, the issue on the school is that they are concerned about safety, but the staff is also concerned because the schools don't have enough money to properly sanitize and make them safe for the children. So this goes into the depth of how much we need funding back, into our school system and how we not, basically how we lost our position as being one of the top education systems, within the country, here in California, to now being first becoming last in that situation. So this is important. Do your research.
Pastor Curtis, there is a question.
Go ahead.
There is a question in the chat, and I'm going to respond to it very quickly, and then I'm going to drop some information into the chat that is taking place on Facebook. So the question that was asked is, why are small business owners opposed to Prop 15? So the big corporation, because they have the money, to do a lot of mass media use when it comes to messaging. They have created a false narrative, one, that small business owners and Black-owned business are going to be directly impacted by this. And so that is a false narrative. And so I wanted to make sure that is put out there, and I will actually put links to research for those that are asking these questions so that you can do the research, because I believe in all you're getting, you should get understanding. And I'm not going to just lean onto the understanding of what systemic oppressive people in their messaging have told me all along. That's how come people like Michael and them been in prison all these years, because that's what the system told me to believe, that they were criminals. So in all you're getting, get an understanding. I'll put some of the links in there so that you can do some of the research. It does not impact small businesses. And the rent increases that the false narrative is talking about, that is a false narrative as well. Rent increase is not based on property taxes. Rent increase is based on supply and demand when it comes to the properties. And so I'll put that information in there as well. That is a false narrative, meaning it's a lie.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, as we're ready for the next proposition.
All right, for Proposition 16. Back in my notes here. Oh, first, so Proposition 16. You give you the background here. Use of affirmative action. So it repeals Proposition 209, which went into effect 1996, which says that the state cannot discriminate or grant preferential treatment based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in public employment, education, or contracting. In 1996, Proposition 209 eliminated affirmative action by amending the California Constitution to prohibit the state from discriminating against or granting preferential treatment to any individual or group based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, national origin, and operation of public employment, public education, or public contracting. A yes vote on Proposition 16 means that the California Constitution would reinstate affirmative action. And a no vote on Proposition 16 means that the provisions of the California Constitution enacted by Proposition 209 in 1996 will remain in effect. So yes restores affirmative action to the California Constitution, and no basically continues to negate it happening. So, anybody have anything they'd like to add on that?
And that's anybody on call. If Daryl, your team, if that affects your team in any spot, please feel free to say something.
Sure. Hi everyone. So the proposition after this started in the Assembly as ACA 6, Assembly Constitutional Amendment 6. And Proposition 16 came from ACA 5. And if you listen to some of the floor votes when they were trying to get this passed, you would have a conservative faction that was essentially saying that California is colorblind, that we're beyond racism, and that we don't see color. And this Proposition 209 was called the Civil Rights California Initiative. So how could it possibly, like, why would you want to undo something that that is clearly about equality? And the fact of the matter is that once Proposition 209 went into effect, the enrollment of Berkeley and UCA campuses for underrepresented groups fell by more than 60%. There was immediately after the passage of 209, there were over 4,400 students in UCLA's freshman class, and 96 were African American. So the idea that this, and I should also mention that California is only one of 9 states to ban affirmative action. So we are way behind the times in this. So if you're looking for actual equality, and if you're willing to accept the reality that like we do not have that in this country, then this is a proposition that you should definitely vote in favor of. I should also say that Proposition 209 has been extremely difficult to battle in court. It has been tried many times, but because of the courts relying on precedents, and because it started as a proposition, which means it was it was voted in. It's been very hard to undo. So it has to be undone by voting yes on Prop 16. It has to be done by educated voters knowing that you can't just pull like the wool over your eyes and say that equality is just going to create itself. If you want to have equality, then you will reinstate affirmative action, and you do that by yes on 16.
And I would just like to add, and backing up to Proposition 15, when we're talking about affirmative action, if you just look at it at the lens of modern day or right now, you'll say, well, that's unfair. We're supposed to be developing a society that's equal and fair and inclusive. But what affirmative action does is give those who were disenfranchised and oppressed for hundreds of years a beginning to get to the starting line for a fair chance. So when you have generational wealth built up, when you have generational education built up, when you have generational seats at the table that excluded you for hundreds of years, how are you able to be fair and starting at the same spot? So what affirmative action does is give us an opportunity to catch up. And it doesn't go to undeserving people, because you still have to put in the work to get into colleges, universities, and so on and so forth. But it's also about the Proposition 15 that we spoke about earlier with industrializing our school system. When our schools and our community lack the resources to have wood shop or auto shop, what they're doing is giving those students they're taking away from those students the ability, if you're not college material, to go get a vocation and get into a trade like auto mechanics or plumbing or so on and so forth, so that you can still have the opportunity to raise a family, own a home, drive a nice car, and have the dignity that comes with dollars. And you won't have to go sell drugs. You won't have to go pimp somebody. So what they're doing, and this started under President Nixon, this is historical before him, but he really emphasized the devaluing of our communities, taking the black man out of the black home, putting more black men into prison, and so on and so forth. Bill Clinton put more police on the streets to arrest more black people than Donald Trump has. So there was an argument on Facebook that said Donald Trump is our worst president. I like to say no. The first to Lincoln that whose administration supervised slavery is worse than Donald Trump. So let's not get confused with who's worse and who's bad. We want to be able to position ourselves and have a political party that says our needs and our agenda should be met. If they're not talking about what is ailing the black community, then their vote should not be just guaranteed from us. We should be able to have a power base like anybody else. The police union has a power base, the correctional guards have a power base, and so on and so forth, and they get what they want. They're able to make hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in a chair watching grown men run the prison system, and then say you can't get out because my kid can't go to college if you're not in here. So we really have to pay attention of what these propositions are really allowing us as a community to do. So yes on 15, yes on 16, and Paula and Daryl and myself are going to tell you why yes on 17 in a minute.
Yes, sir.
I just want to add because just eloquently spoken about, when we think about systemic racism, and we think about propping up systemic racism, that's what these institutions, that's how systemic racism continues to thrive, is when those systems, those educators can exclude who they choose, not based on anything other than just their ability to exclude who they choose. We cannot expect that they're going to be unbiased in their viewpoint and in their selection process. So by saying yes on 16, you're actually hindering their bias. We're trying to neutralize their bias by a yes vote because they won't have any other choice but then to meet at least a quota. And it's all we need is a start. We don't want anybody to give us any handouts. We're looking for individuals just to move out the way and give us an opportunity. And that's what this yes on 16 would do. And when we even think about 15 and 16 are really partners with one another. It's so important for us to recognize that there are two ends, they're two pieces of the same puzzle. And to say no on them is to prop up systemic racism. It's to give it an injection shot to continue to thrive because it's convulsing right now. And it's convulsing. It's trying to find a way to stay alive. And if you vote no on these, then you're allowing it to stay alive.
Just to add one more thing to give you a perspective, Mark Zuckerberg looks like someone who went to college, dropped out, and became a billionaire by coming up with an idea like Facebook. But Mark Zuckerberg is a grandchild of the Rothschilds. He didn't have to go to college. So we do. Our children need to go to universities and college, and I would love for them to go to historical Black college, but any college. And so having that type of admission to where we are getting our elite into these colleges so that they can come out and be our elite in our communities is vital. And we need to encourage these type of conversations, not just among us, because we can say, yes, vote this, and as a block we do. But we really need to encourage the conversation among those who don't believe in this, who and sit into those arguments and those hard discussions and let them see that you voting no against this, you are propping up the same white supremacist racist system that has been propped up since George Washington, and enough is enough.
That's right.
I just want to add this and say, they try to make prison be our university, by not sending, by sending all of us to prison. Trying to say that was going to be our school, but by taking away people that can go to college and be teachers and come back to our communities, you take a lot of that away from us. So that is the issue that I always look at, because the fear of a lot of these kids thinking that they can't go to college, is where I had at one point was where I was at, because I thought I had to go, to the corner and sell drugs, and to be somebody important. It took me to go to prison, but I had to be around other men that schooled me on getting my education. But just imagine if I would have stayed out and I would have had the schools that provided all the things that I see other schools that was in areas out here in Sacramento. Now, the schools I went to in Oakland, I didn't see half the things that they have at schools out here, that got good communities. They have good politicians that speak and get money for their schools. I didn't have that, and I know a lot of these other communities out here in the South area, in Old Park, all them kind of areas throughout the nation do not have that. A lot of people are pulling all that money out and putting it in the prison. We need to put all that money back in education, in the schools, because if it's not back in the schools, guess where it's going to go? It's going to have your children, being the next group of people that's trying to get out of prison, being in there for over 20 years. And they can be any color, they don't have to be Black and brown, because prison will eat up anybody. So vote yes, 15, 16.
All right, go ahead, Daryl. Why don't you guys go ahead and go into 17?
Go ahead, Paula or Tyreek.
All right. Thank you. So I just to sort of piggyback off of the last couple of propositions, I just want to reiterate that these are not political decisions. These are about people. These are about your neighbors. These are about the people in your community that provide for that community. And Prop 17, like 16 and 15, is about people. It's about people like Daryl. It's about people like Tariq. And I definitely want to give them a chance to speak. I want to just provide some historical context about felony disenfranchisement, which is what Prop 17 is about. So like I said, Prop 17 started in the Assembly as a constitutional amendment to restore voting rights to people re-entering society from prison. They have finished their sentence and they have been deemed rehabilitated and safe to re-enter communities. They are paying taxes, they are working in their communities, they are raising families, and yet they suffer from basically one of the reasons why we started this country, which is taxation without representation, which means that they pay into a society and have no vote to have a say in that society, and how decisions that impact their lives are being made and who is making those decisions. So just to give you some context, right now in America, 1 in 13 African Americans is denied the right to vote because of a felony conviction. In California, 50,000 tax-paying Californians are on parole and cannot vote. Those numbers, and I should also say that people coming out of prison in California who this would impact are primarily people of color. 75% of people in California prisons are people of color. So something like that doesn't happen by accident. And that's what Mr. Baldwin said so eloquently. That is what we're calling systemic racism. The seeds of this started when the system was formed. So this began, felony disenfranchisement began after emancipation with the slavery exception clause. And what the white majority did to maintain political power and decide how things were going to be run in this country without the input of people that they had brought here to help build that country, was to a two-pronged approach. One was to increase what it meant to be criminal and criminalize specifically Black life and things like the Black Code and Jim Crow laws. Then they expanded the crimes that were that would lead to disenfranchisement in order to suppress the vote. So what we're talking about today with Proposition 17 and felony disenfranchisement anywhere in the country is voter suppression. It's just a different name. And so what you had was, and of course, you know, we have tried to, we had the Voting Rights Act of 1964, but along the way have been Supreme Court decisions, again, based on precedents dating back to the 1800s. And we've had other rollbacks that have curbed the voting power of African Americans and Hispanics in particular. And so what Proposition 17 does is restore those voting rights. And I wanted to, so we have a Free the Vote 2020 campaign, which is Vote Yes on 17. And what we have found is that the most impactful way to explain this to the voting populace is through directly impacted stories. So Florida passed a similar amendment in 2018. It was Amendment 4, and that re-enfranchised 1.4 million Floridians. And the reason why that passed, we believe, is because it took the politics out of it and put the people into it. And people got to see and hear from people who this impacts. And you'll find that while we consider voting to be a very political process, for people who have lost the right or never, or had the right taken from them before they were even given it, I'll have Tariq talk a little bit about that. It's a very personal process and not a political process. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Tariq, who will tell you a little bit about his experience. I will preempt him just by saying, because I know he won't say it, that Tariq turned the big 5-0 this summer. But he has never voted. And the fact that that is something that still exists in California, in progressive California, is really quite astonishing. So go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you for exposing my age once again. We're gonna have to do something about that. I'm gonna have to have a talk when we get back to the office. But no, seriously, I'm 50 and fabulous. I've never felt better. However, at this moment in history, not having the ability to voice my my education, my life experience in voting, really does hurt. It makes me feel like that 3/5 of a man when my ancestors was in slavery and chattel property. It makes me remember how my ancestors hung from trees and whipped because they just wanted a say-so. They wanted freedom. They wanted to be able to do what every other man and rightful citizen of this country did. And so when we look at when men and women are civilly engaged on parole, they are 0.04% likely to go back to prison. So there is an underlying reason why they withhold our vote, because when we don't care about our communities, when we don't care about the process, we are less invested and more invested in doing whatever they think we're going to do in order to go back. And we fall into this trap over and over again. So my father was a Marine and he served honorably. And when he was over there, he knew that the enemy was not firing at him. Koreans were not his enemy. They never called him a nigger. They never did anything to oppress him in this land. And yet when he returned back to this country, he found that he was still a second-class citizen, even though he risked his life for this country. And that type of activism is what was instilled into my DNA, because I never got to know my father because he sacrificed his family for the greater cause. And so when I became politically astute by reading Malcolm X, I knew that I had a voice and I needed to be able to vote. I could either choose the ballot or the bullet, as Malcolm would say. And I chose the ballot because the bullet hasn't gotten us anywhere. If bullets could solve problems, the United States would have none. So when I decided to get out and become very active, I thought I would have to serve 3 to 5 years on parole and get off and then be able to express myself. But from the age of 17, before I was 18 and made the worst decision of my life, I have been taken out of the process of leading my country in a better direction. And at this stage, at this time in history, our country does not even have the moral standing to be a superpower and a world leader, because we still have slavery in existence. How can we say we are a great democracy when we withhold democracy from those who it impacts the most? And so I am so honored to just be on the team that is pushing Prop 17. And I get on my phone banking. I don't like it that very much, but it's a part of my job. That's what I get paid to do. So I get on the phone and I love to come across Republicans, because I say, if you believe in public safety, then you should vote yes on 17. And they say, well, what is that? Because we are more likely to make sure your community is safe and mine, because we are civically engaged and we don't have time to destroy it. And we want to build it up. We want to build our schools up. We want to vote for school superintendents or school council members. We want to vote for mayors that's going to build up our communities. We want to vote for district attorneys who's not going to send our people back to prison. We're going to vote for those people who are going to uplift our community. Don't you want that? And then when I talk to people who are Democrats, I say, most people are African American getting out of prison, and they're historically voting your party. So you can increase your one vote by 50,000 by just voting for Proposition 17. And they say, never thought about that. So we have to talk the language of the people and stop allowing the other narrative to lead to define our voices. And so if this passes, great. Next time around, I'm going to be able to vote for the Chelsea Bodines of our election. And locally, I'm from San Francisco. I'm working with him now as a commissioner in the Sentencing Commission under the district attorney, and I'll be able to sit with people who want to make San Francisco and California better. So please, yes, vote for 17.
I'd love to chime in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm just really want to advocate again for Prop 17. I know that for myself, yesterday was my 2-year anniversary of being free. one of the things that I've been able to be very active in my community. I've been able to train maybe 95% of our educational force in my city that I'm in. I've been hired to work with law enforcement to train and coach them in race relations and community building, but I can't vote. I've been allowed to stand and speak at some really profound venues with some national figures and some of the people who are running for who ran for presidency, but I can't vote. So when I think about what this means is that the same feeling that I felt that sent me to the hood, that sent me out in the streets, was I felt like I didn't belong to the community. I started that when I was in grade school. The school teachers kind of like made sure that I knew that I was an outsider, right? It was just the way that it was structured. And so it was easy for me not to expect to be involved in any other political system, any other political structure. I felt like that was for squares, right? That was what I was trained to believe. So I never got involved in that. I didn't get a chance to vote. I've never voted in my life. If someone votes for Prop 17, then you're actually voting for me this time. And I guarantee you, when I do get my voice back, you will hear me, because I won't just accept voting. I will eventually run for somebody's office, right? I will eventually step up and step into a space and be a voice for those who don't have a voice because they don't believe that they have a voice. I believe that Prop 17 is an opportunity for us to truly become a democracy.
Yeah, and I would, first of all, I'm all about Baldwin 2024. I have the license plate sticker already picked out. I'm like fully in. I do want to say that the arguments against Prop 17 fall apart pretty quickly, and it's because it speaks to both Democratic and Republican values. So in a day and age where it seems everything is very partisan and politically divided, I should say that this kind of amendment has bipartisan support everywhere in the country. So when this was in Florida, every single district, and again, we're talking about Florida, every district except one voted in favor of it. It's because it talks to things like taxation without representation, which I mentioned. It talks to public safety. That stake in your community that Mr. Baldwin was just talking about, and that Tariq also talked about, has shown in research in several areas where people on parole are allowed to vote, that the recidivism rate, which is the likelihood that someone will reoffend, decreases with an increase in civic engagement. And this is how people civically engage. They feel they have a stake in their community because they feel that they are a part of that community. And they are a part of that community. There's also that the, like do the crime, do the time. California law says that the punishment and punitive phase of someone's crime is over when they leave prison. Parole is meant to be a reentry process, and so it's not part of the punishment. Like if you're out there and you believe in forgiveness, and you believe that the California Department of Rehabilitation, Corrections and Rehabilitation includes rehabilitation, then you will believe that the parole board and the governor's office finding this person safe for a reentry and rehabilitated, they believe when they say that. And they and that those people should have every right afforded to them to be a member of those communities. So public safety increases when you re-engage. And then lastly, I would just say that it's hard when people talk about a lot of, like a lot of things in politics, when the argument starts to fall apart, people start fear-mongering. So a lot of the things that I hear about are the vicious monsters coming out that we're restoring voting rights to. So first of all, that's not reality. again, the people coming out have been deemed rehabilitated and safe to re-enter society. But more importantly, I would say that that argument is kind of circular. So you can't say these people are horrible and why should we vote? They're just going to end back up in prison. You are increasing the likelihood of that to happen by denying them the right to vote. So I would just, again, encourage everyone, if you want to learn more about Prop 17, please visit our website. It's freethevote2020.org. It also has links to our social media where you can hear Tariq's story, Daryl's story, other directly impacted people talking about how it feels to be disenfranchised and what it would mean to be re-enfranchised. It also has a voter's guide that talks about propositions and a toolkit that you can use to have conversations about Prop 17, either online or with your family and different talking points. So, and of course, the actual proposition, there's also a link to that there. So that's, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And I just want to add real quick, this, I didn't spoke about being invisible. Not having the ability to vote is I'm invisible. I'm just out here in the world. But at one time when I felt invisible, that's at a young age of 13 all the way up to 19 before I went to prison. I went to jail because I started doing other things, but being educated, like we talk about the other proposition, I understand who I am today. I'm 51 years old, and sure, it didn't take me that long to get it, but I'm definitely trying to get it to the next man and woman who get up out of prison to be able to vote. Why can't I pay taxes? Then why do I pay it? Why do I pay taxes then? Why do I have to pay my insurance? I go to work every day. I want to be able to show my daughter, my youngest daughter is 12 years old. I want to be able to make sure my community, the people that I put into, to vote and as well as elect, will be somebody that will look out for her well-being. Because it's not for me no more. I'm 50-some years old. I'm thinking about everybody else's children. If the men and women who come up out of prison are able to vote, trust me, the recidivism drops. Because they feel part of. So that's the part I want to add to it. So I appreciate Paula as well as Tariq and as well as Michael adding to that. So thank you.
And before we move on, one more thing. The right to vote while incarcerated is historically in other nations. Like Great Britain goes to prison and lobby for prisoners' votes. So this is our mother country. This is where we come from. So we know that the change came for a different reason, not because we don't deserve the right to vote, because all citizens deserve the right to vote. But this is just another a way of showing how the system is designed to disenfranchise African Americans the way they do. And so I say this is the age of the slave, because the penitentiary is the new plantation. And it is those who have gone in physically and done the work spiritually and mentally and inwardly that, like Paula said, the board made us go through many hoops to get out before they signed their name on the line. I went through 11 board hearings until they was completely satisfied, and a court had to come in and say, we too are completely satisfied with this one getting out. And matter of fact, it's constitutional excessive punishment that you kept them in there for 23 extra years. So it's not about denying a person a right to vote because of what the crimes they committed, because eventually they are going to be off of parole and be able to vote. What it is suppressing the vote so that another group of people would have more power. So if we know, and as Daryl can attest, and Mike too, those of us who had life terms that got out, we are closest to the problem and better equipped to fix it. So give us a chance to do that.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Thank you, guys. We're going to go to Prop 18. And Tony, if you can lead us in that discussion.
I'm sorry, look, I had to get my head out of there and come here. Okay, Prop 18. This is the amendment to the California Constitution to permit 17-year-olds to vote in primary and special elections if they will turn 18 by the next general election and be otherwise eligible to vote. As it simply said, 17-and-a-half-year-old getting ready to turn 18, coming towards the primary or the election. A yes means that you're saying that they would have the right to vote, and a no is saying that they don't, that you don't feel like they are ready to vote, even though you would feel they were ready to go on a drive test with me when I worked for DMV in order to apply for their driver's license and operate a motor vehicle. So yes means the 17-year-old can vote if they are going to turn 18, and a no would mean that they don't.
Hey, Tony, I was 17 years old when they decided I was an adult enough to
You know
go
what?
to the penitentiary.
I'm trying really
So,
hard.
17-year-olds and a half are adult enough to go off to college and get ready to go off to serve in the military. And if a 16-year-old, like you said, can drive a car, they are more equipped to understand the facts that's going on around them. And you want our young adults to be civically engaged instead of in the streets, running the streets, instead of wondering what the next rap lyric is to defile their minds, because there's a lot of crap out there. But I don't want to sound 50. I'd rather sound 15.
No, and you're right. You're right.
My
We
God.
have some who's gonna pop up and say, welcome to the 50 Club.
But I do a lot of talking and engaging with college students at the University of San Francisco, and these are some sharp young minds. And it didn't start in college; it started in high school. And I just was at the Berkeley High School, and those youngsters is sharp and ready to be the next community leaders of our community. So. For sure, vote for yes. It should go all the way down to 16. If you could send a 14-year-old to prison, then he should be able to have the right to vote.
That part.
To say, no, I don't want to go to prison.
That part.
Absolutely. And I think that the fact is that the younger the better, because it can be a strategic place from, redirecting an individual's course, right? So when we are more engaged in the civicness of our society, then we're more civil in the way that we respond to life's challenges. But if we are not engaged, I got a poetry piece that I use, and one of the verses in there talks about 16, 17, 18, both times already caught up in the scheme. So by allowing a 17-year-old an opportunity to vote, you actually get him to become concerned about his community. And Black and brown communities will be the most that will be positively affected by this, but not just Black and brown communities. We're talking about all these creative minds. At that age, they will force politicians to keep it real, because now they have to learn how to speak the language of young people, because they'll solicit those votes too. See, the people shape a politician, because a politician's goal is to win. That's it. So he becomes what he needs to become in order to win. So if he had to adjust himself to communicate with a 17-year-old and a 17-year-old's issues, chances are he's going to be a little bit more honest and straight up, because a 17-year-old can look through the muddy water and spot the dry land most times, especially when it comes to keeping it real.
And just imagine if a 17-year-old can say, hey, my high school is in bad shape. Hey, Mayor, I'll vote for you if you improve my high school. Hey, Mayor, I'll vote for you if you do this and that. Like Mike said, this is for those of us like Apollo, who's Jewish, myself, I'm Muslim, my Christian brothers, right? Historically, our culture, once you go through the rite of passage and becoming an adult, you have the decision making and the responsibility to make those decisions as an adult. It is only this babyfication of this new culture that we want to rock our babies all the way to 25 or something, right? But these people are crying out, we want our right. We want to live our age, which is being responsible. And we would love to teach our youngsters to be responsible, accountable, to have integrity, and all these attributes that takes us from childhood to adulthood. And that just starts with the right to vote. Let's give them a chance. Because when we look up there in Congress, the Senate, the Assembly, and all these old folks that's up there and ain't got it right yet, let's give some of the wisdom from the babies a chance, man. Let's see some of the wisdom from the babies happen. Let's see what happens. You know, let's make change happen.
That's right. Because the natural thing that will occur when individuals become interested in voting at 17, they automatically start saying, well, I could do that. I would be better at that than he is. And chances are we will have some young, fresh minds running for positions inside of our government and more well-versed at some of the aspects of our government system. I didn't learn about, gerrymandering and all these things until I was 27, sitting inside a prison with a double life sentence. Mm-hmm. I felt so stupid that I had not been informed about these things sooner, that this structure was set up for somebody to always govern me. It was not set up for me to govern anything. So letting a 17-year-old vote, I think what everybody should vote for that. It should be unanimous.
Yeah. Before we transition to the next one, I just want to say, kind of bringing it back home to where our host is hosting this wonderful broadcast from the city of Sacramento, is where I first got involved with community organizing. And my first involvement was organizing with the youth of Meadowview. And it wasn't the government class, the U.S. government class that they were attending. It was actually the youth ministry there at Genesis Church that these young people were being engaged and informed and started learning about civic engagement. They were the ones who held a candidates forum for candidate at the time, the first mayor candidate, Kevin Johnson, before his first run at the Luther Burbank High School. They're the ones now who went on to major in policy. They're the ones now who are counselors, voting, educated adults, young adults still now, but they didn't have the right to vote then, but they had the mind to understand. And they had, and I just want to, put this out there, since I said it happened at the church, is that, these are cases that we're teaching the Bible, but we need to teach our children and take the responsibility there within our institutions and the places that we have them in our hands, in our care, to also know that they need to understand this system and the world that they lived in, that they didn't have to choose to be birthed in, but they live in it. So they should have a right to learn how to, the range. We teach them all these other things, but let's teach them how to be civically engaged. That's the little soapbox I was going to get on, but I'm going to go ahead and get to the next one. We've been on that. If I want to put a disclaimer out, if I seem to rush through this proposition, please forgive me. It's kind of like, I'm about to date myself, Tariq, not 52. So you know how you used to skip from one song on the album and you go to the other one because you didn't like the one that was coming up. So you move the handle, over, fast forward the cassette, and everything. I'm not going to talk about the 8-track because it had too many songs in one track, right?
Marlon, don't be shaking your head like you know what I'm saying.
So basically, this is a disclaimer right now because I'm trying to get to 20, but I'm going to give you 19 right now. This proposition, number 19, is the number, it changes the California property tax law. This is another housing situation. Yes, most notably, Proposition 19 allows the base year value transfers for disabled taxpayers and those over the age of 55, as well as a victim of a wildfire or a natural disaster, regardless of the replacement property's value or location, so long as the replacement property is purchased or constructed within 2 years of the date the original property is sold. Proposition 19 also limits or reduces existing rules that exempt parent-child or grandparent-grandchild exclusions from change in ownership, rules affecting property taxes. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that this is the population this affects are disabled taxpayers and those over age of 55. Those who have been a part of, how we had a lot of the fires. If they are, selling the property or going into a new location, and is a replacement property within 2 years of the date that their old property is sold, that they will have a base year transfer of their property tax. So I encourage you to read more on this, but again, that's the population that it's affecting, and you can relate to it based on basically all of the fires that we have had of knowing how many people in California in that age bracket or disabled are affected by this situation here. So a yes vote on Prop 19 would enact the above mentioned changes that I just mentioned in California property tax laws, and a no vote on Prop 19 means the existing property tax rules would remain in place. Now, as we enter, I'm going to ask Mike. Go ahead.
So for Prop 19, would they have to rebuild in the same area where their home was destroyed?
Regardless of the replacement property's value or location.
Okay.
So I guess that we wouldn't have to be the same place. Tony?
Michael?
Yes.
Right before you dig in, can I say something?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I wanted to say this with 19, but then I waited. I just wanted to really be spirit led. And I know it's something that's on my heart. So all of the information that was shared in regard to 19, 17, and restoring the vote, we're going to be talking. There's a couple of more that's going to come up in regard to voting rights, or just restoration. And that's what I wanted to lean on. We've talked about, what it is, our amendment that was taken away when individuals are incarcerated. The 13th Amendment, they lose that. They lose the rights, citizenship rights. And so there's a lot of stripping away that takes place. I wanted to really quickly address a population that may be watching that is not necessarily, I didn't hear addressed, and that is those that operate from a space of faith. Those that are operating from a space of faith, there is a term that is called restoration. So if I do an offense and then I commit a sin or an offense or something that is offensive or an act of aggression or a grievance towards man, towards my God, a deity, whomever, when I repent and reconcile, when I repent and make amends for the thing that I have done wrong, there is a thing that is granted to me by my faith called restoration. And so restoration seems to be something that is granted by God. My faith tradition, Christianity, says that I have access to restoration in that relationship with Him, meaning I get access to the things that I once was able to do. However, individuals, we don't seem to, as humans, in our godlike sometimes capacity, want to give restoration to individuals after they have made amends and repented and been punished and gone through all the things that they have to go through. And so the restoring of the right to vote, the proposition that Mike's about to dig into, and some of the other things that are going to come up when it comes to incarceration, I want us to think, so I'm talking to my white brothers and sisters, les mis. I want you to think about the man that stole a loaf of bread in order to save the lives of his family that were hungry. And the fact that he was a criminal forever, because the law says that he has to be a criminal and there is no grace. So I just wanted us to remember restoration is a real thing that we should be operating in from a posturing of faith and people of faith. That's it. Okay, good for it.
The doors of the church are open.
Wow.
Well, I wanted to add to it because, I mentioned it briefly, but thank you for putting it in terms of faith. Tariq mentioned that we all come from different backgrounds, but there are some cornerstones that are true to all. Repentance is one of them. We just celebrated the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, where you repent and you're given a clean slate to try again. And the other really important tenet is forgiveness. So this idea that that somehow God created monsters that we should shun forever and silence and excommunicate is really again,
especially if it's a
mutually
system that we created to create the monsters. And now I go on mute.
I mean, right on. When we look at the historical figure of Jesus, Esau in Islam, or Yeshua in the Hebrew text, this man freed the man on the cross, the thief on the cross. So he believed in rehabilitation and no parole. He didn't say, "Hey, get off the cross. You got parole coming, and when you get done, then you can vote to see if I'm the Messiah or not." He's like, "Get on up out there. In heaven, you'll be with me, right?" And when he healed people, he didn't say, "Do you have a deductible? Can I see your insurance card? Because I can't heal your sickness without you being a part of some health insurance." So and then he fed people, he clothed people, he housed people. So when we talk about being anti-socialist, we talk about being anti-faith. We are supposed to redistribute the wealth and give it to those who are in need. It is not given to you by the Creator to hoard or to make yourself boastful and proud and uplift you in these big giant statues and monuments. It's to redistribute it and show your faith that your money is not yours, but what to do with it. And so even if I talk strong and passionate, it is only because I'm actually coming from a position of love. Because in order for me to get out the penitentiary, I had to love those guards, love them enough to turn that key and let me go.
Yes, sir.
Well, I love you, brother.
I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good here.
I'm gonna say, do we got to get out the offering plate for some of y'all up in here?
I'm just saying, I'm
trying to be good. Tariq, I'm thinking about, I wonder how much bail did he ask him? How much money did he have before he freed him next to him? What type of system? I'm getting way too far ahead in the propositions here, but we can preach this whole ballot. We can preach this whole ballot tonight. But Michael, go ahead, brother.
So we're talking about Proposition 20. And what Proposition 20 would do is, if it's passed, there are three main things that it would amend. Amend means change in the state's constitution. One is it would increase penalties for some kinds of stealing or some crimes that are now considered misdemeanors. It would make it harder for people to get out of prison on supervised release. So depending on certain crimes, they wouldn't allow you to be released, because now what used to be a misdemeanor, or they would designate some crimes as being too serious or violent for them to consider you for an early release, regardless of your institutional behavior or rehabilitation. It would also require the government to collect DNA samples in some criminal cases that had nothing to do with sex or anything like that. They would want to collect DNA samples from some crimes that would now be considered a misdemeanor, but they want to change those misdemeanors to felonies. It's important to note that Proposition 20 is on the ballot based on petition signatures. So a lot of signatures were gathered in order to add this to the ballot. It's important to note that most of those signatures came from law enforcement. All right. Just with that basis, we can tell that's if you vote for this. Now, opposers to this Proposition 20 says that this is another attempt to create a prison boom. See, what's happening right now with rehabilitation and restorative justice and the invent of forgiveness and change, what has happened is men who have been reformed as a result of their incarceration are now allowed to be free again. And the parole board no longer uses statements. They use it occasionally, but they're not able to use it as blanketed as they used to, by saying you lack insight or the gravity of the crime. They are no longer allowed to use that. They have to measure you as an individual today and your disciplinary history. For example, I spent 26 years, 7 months, and 17 days incarcerated. I have not had a 115 or a write-up or a rules infraction in 23 years. All right. So in 23 years, I had not broken any rules. So that afforded me an added bonus to allow me to be released. So Proposition 47 and 57, it reduced some of the it reduced prison overcrowding. based on some individuals who were incarcerated due to minor offenses, were allowed to be released. They had non-violent second strikers. So individuals who stole a loaf of bread, and it was his second strike, they were allowed to be released when in fact they had been given a 15-year sentence. You had the misuse of the 3 strikes law and some of those other abuses that were done based on fear and disinformation were destroyed as a result of Prop 47 and 57. Proposition 20 will allow that to swing again. So we recognize that there's been the pendulum shift in our criminal justice system in California. So there once was a time where lock them up and throw away the key. It did not reduce crime. Right now, the crime rate in California is at its lowest in history. It's the lowest it's been, and prisons are open. People are allowed to be returned back into the community. This is my personal view of this is an opportunity, an attempt to create a multi-million-dollar prison boom. Like in the 80s, they built prisons and then changed the laws to fill the prisons. And if you look at the history, it'll show you that the prisons were built prior to being filled. The prisons were built, and then things were placed on the ballots, and propositions were made to change the penal system. And as a result of that penal system changing, they were allowed to be filled. We understand that some individuals who may want this are looking at their fiscal responsibility to their families. And so they want to utilize incarceration to feed their families. And I understand that people have a desire to feed their families, but they want to feed their families off of incarcerating individuals for misdemeanors and for simple crimes. I'm not pro-crime. I don't want crime in the community at all. But this proposition will not solve crime. It will not reduce crime, and it will not change anything. That's all it will do is cause for us to build 10 to 15 more prisons to reduce overcrowding, as opposed to releasing nonviolent or reformed individuals. Even if they're labeled, I'm considered a violent felon. Regardless of what I'm doing today, I'm considered a violent felon. Since I've been home, no one has been harmed. For 23 years while I was incarcerated, I was shown that I was able to not break the rules. So, and before I pass this on to others to speak on, this proposition right here, Governor Jerry Brown began a process that allowed for a lot of adjustments to be made in the penal system, and that was the beginning of criminal justice reform. It wasn't the end, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for us to truly reform our criminal justice system. We have a few of us, like I've made it home, but I'm just one individual. I'm going to tell you before I shut my mouth about an individual named Jesse Cecina. I would be remiss not to tell y'all about him, because Jesse Cecina, at the age of 16, just turned 16 years old, he shot and killed a CHP officer. He has accepted responsibility for this. It's been 41 years. Jesse Cecina has not had a write-up or a rules violation in over 30 years. He has been found suitable for parole 5 times. That means that the Board of Parole Hearings, that is 10 individuals who have said that he is no longer a threat to society. But we've had 5 governors that have taken a date from him because he killed an officer. So what we see with this is how political our justice system is. And he's a prime example, because he's one of the most reformed men you're going to run into. But he cannot make it back home because of the offense that he committed when he was 16 years old. All right? He is almost 60, but he was 16 when this happened. And when we think about Proposition 20, you're talking about sending individuals who may have their crimes are a nuisance to the community. Yes, they're a nuisance. They may need some rehabilitation. They may need some effort. They may need drug and alcohol counseling. They may need something, but this is going to allow for the justice system to lock them up for periods of time and to eventually give them life sentences just based on if we allow this Proposition 20 to pass.
Mike, you nailed it. You nailed it perfectly. And as a new commissioner for the Sentencing Commission Board, one of the things that I'm fighting for is to remove the willy-nilly arbitrary decisions of these human beings. So there's a watch party going on my Facebook channel, this show, and Tammy has a loved one in prison, and he's been in there for 37 years, and they just won't let him go. He's paid his debt. His name is I'm sorry, Willie, and I know him personally. I walked the yard with him, and at some point you begin to break down. You begin to think that it ain't never going to happen. And there's guys like Larry Green and Ronnie Wynn and who we call LA, but his name is Cooks, right? These are three men that I'm fighting for to get out of prison because I walked the yard with them, and I know they good dudes. I know they good men, and they will come out and be assets. So we got to do everything that we can to take the power of racism, of population control out of the hands of people who are just collecting a paycheck, and stop making this a political decision. We need to remove the life term. If you have a death penalty, you have a death penalty. I'm against the death penalty, but if there's a death penalty, that means then you've done something that's worthy to die for. But if not, there should be a number by your sentence, and you do that number, and you get out and move on with your life. And these are some of the reforms that we are challenging our political leaders to make.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm a poet, so I think in terms of poetry, right? And so I would love to share a 2-minute piece with y'all if I'm allowed. Is that okay?
Go ahead. Help yourself, 2024.
Did you hear the sound of the gunshot ring? I said, did you hear the sound of the gunshots ring? In some minds, when they hear bang, they hear ching, ching, the sound that money brings. Yeah, I know it stings. But if your American dream revolved around the potential death of me, it's obscene. How can freedom ring? We ought to do a sting and wipe out that scheme. Give a gun to him and me, then convince us we each other's enemy. We don't know how to war along party lines. Our communication is too fractured, so we use gang signs. He claims his block and I claim mine. We learned our behavior from you. You taught us, but now you punish us for what we do. Democrats, Republicans, and the Tea Party too. Do you vote for what's true, or you stand with who you cool with too? Flood the world with guns, you see, then convince us we each other's enemy to justify the building of another penitentiary. It's so obvious, it's really elementary, but we're too distracted by perceptions to use our power in the elections. We lose our voice before we get to exercise a choice. 16, 17, 18, most times already caught up in the scheme. Sex, drugs, and crime scenes. And it's mean, chasing that green. We really should reduce the guns in our land and make a stand. Yeah, I know we can't get rid of them all, but it's time that we make that call. Our voice we silence when we use violence, spilling each other's blood like it's as useless as mud. Yet we still got some criminals on the street. They making laws with a motive of deceit. No education and no money. Prison is where we meet and greet. It's a cold seat becoming a part of a quota to meet. Education can protect you from a prison vacation. We got to revitalize this great nation and catch them younger and motivate the hunger to succeed. Stop feeding the need for greed. We all should water this seed. And who knows? Maybe we can come up with some solutions rather than continue to battle over delusions while human blood is oozing. Yeah, we all losing. And it's scary watching families forced to marry a cemetery.
Y'all give it up for Michael Baldwin, the next candidate for 2024. Yeah.
We're going to get past this election as Democrats and Republicans, but we got to start our own party if Mike going to run.
Yeah.
It's going to be the love party.
Your name is the love party. That's what I'm talking about.
There.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Love it.
I wanted, I really hate following that, but I will.
Hey, Paula, I'll let you go ahead. That's why I just waited. Like, I'll wait for you. You go ahead, and then I'm going to say something, but I'm going to let you speak.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. So, really quickly, this idea that, Michael suggested that, President Baldwin suggested that, that this might be about a prison boom. It absolutely is, because actually the nonpartisan Legislative Analyst Office, which works out of Sacramento, forecasts that Prop 20 will cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars per year on prison spending, in addition to rolling back progress. And so this idea that a lot of the signatures came from law enforcement, you should probably know that because the California prison industrial complex has 33 factories, it is self-sustaining in terms of paying correctional officers and guards and anyone who, like, their salaries, they good. So the cost of this, we have the highest paid corrections officers in the entire country, including the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And so the cost of this, that's not coming out of their pockets. It's coming out of your pockets. That's and right. So, second of all, you mentioned Governor Brown, and he said this about Prop 20. He said that Prop 20 will eradicate hope from prison. And if you are a person of faith and you have, I have never been incarcerated, but I have had moments where I am living on a prayer. I've had moments where all I have is hope. And if you have found yourself in that situation, then you will vote no and make sure that someone else doesn't lose that hope. Because for a lot of people, that's all that they have.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tony, go ahead and say what you was going to say.
And I'm glad that she named that, because you said it's 33. So I want to make sure I got my number right. So it's not 35 prisons.
It's 36 prisons.
That's what I wanted to make sure I got this just 36. Let me change my 35 to 36.
Trust me, I know that now.
33 factories.
Oh, 33. Okay. So there are 36 prisons, and that's under the CDC watch, right? So there's still a few others that aren't under the umbrella of the CDC, meaning there are 36 state prisons in the state of California. So I wanted to drop that nugget for those of you that are watching and paying attention. 36, that's the highest number of prisons in the United States of America in any state.
And one right now, San Quentin has been ordered to reduce its population by half immediately. Right.
And that's where I was going to, Michael, because in 2008, a federal judgment was made that the state of California needed to reduce the prison population because it was actually too many prisoners within our penal system. So now the law enforcement is trying to pass a bill in order to increase by an anticipated 10,000 population annually. That's the anticipated increase if they implement this, and they cut 47 and 57, which are bills that we fought for, in order to actually reduce. So we are really pushing hard. This is one of those things Faith in the Valley is pushing for a no on Prop 20. Tony McNeil, no on Prop 20. Concrete Team, no on Prop 20. And anybody I'm rocking with, no on Prop 20. So if you on the block, no on Prop 20. If I need to speak block language, if you own the block, doing anything in the block and got anybody on the block, I'm telling you now, tell your mama, your homies, your baby mama, and anybody else that you rocking with, no on Prop 20. Why? Because if you out, you're going back if they voted in. So you need to vote no on 20. I'm sorry, now I'm back to the saintly. And so for you saints folks that's in the congregation, you know what I'm saying? That you have your loved ones and those that you're praying for, to be restored back into the community or what have you, then we're encouraging you also to vote no on Prop 20 in order to ensure, that restoration takes place within the community.
And I'm going to tell you, I've learned to really respect two sides of the situation, right? Because I couldn't afford to just hate something. I had to learn it and study it so that I couldn't be tricked by it. And those individuals are simply expecting for the voters to not be wise enough to read through the mirage. We are so easily influenced. we are so easily guided and directed into what to believe and what to think and how to receive information. If someone tells us that we should be afraid, we usually start feeling fear without experiencing anything that promotes fear. So that's what will sell this. That's the attempt, is to sell fear and to get people to be easily influenced to be afraid of individuals who may be a nuisance in the community. Instead of us doing that, how about we open up more mental health programs? How about we open up more rehabilitation centers? So how about we provide more opportunities for jobs, as opposed to opening up or passing a bill like this, a proposition like this? How about we open up some more after-school programs or some youth intervention programs? That would be a wiser way to spend these funds than to establish a proposition like this that will only use prison as the building block of a society. So only a few individuals will be a part of that building block. Those who are disenfranchised will naturally find their way into the incarcerated environment and won't be able to make it out.
Yeah, and again, the money is your money and
That's
my
right.
money.
Right.
So oh, think about how you would want to spend your money in a recession where small businesses are struggling to survive, where school districts are cutting classes and programs to survive. Like, I would much rather invest in my kids' schools than in another prison that is going to be overcrowded, an incubator for COVID-19. And it's not like this, what this proposition is suggesting is that prison is the answer to all of society's problems. Right. So if you have an addiction, prison's got you. You know, if you're struggling with mental illness, we'll just go to prison. If you are homeless, if you get evicted, we'll send them to prison. Like, that is not how it works. It's just not how the world works. So yeah, don't be fooled, and remember that these are your tax dollars that will go toward something that has proven to be broken.
And one more thing before we move on, and we think about, some people may think that this may not affect them. And I'm going to tell you, the opioid crises that touched our country affected communities that didn't think that it would ever touch them. So my white friends and my friends who were affluent ended up being sometimes my cellmates, right? They got on the yard too, because the opioid addiction affected their community as well. And that's when it became a national crisis, when it started affecting communities that weren't supposed to be affected like that. So if you allow this proposition to pass, then you can guarantee that it's going to start affecting communities that it didn't expect to be affected by it. And then you end up in there, and your family and your loved ones end up in prison because of something minor. And then you want to change the rules, or change the rules back because you didn't see it could affect you. But this will affect everyone on some level, even beyond your pocketbook. It may even affect you, your children, or someone that you're related to or connected to that's a good kid, never really gotten any trouble before. But because of opioid, he may have made some bad decisions or bad choices. That misdemeanor crime that he could have got some correction in will now send him to prison.
And before we move on, can you just do a recap of the propositions and the yes or no's on them, just for the people who've joined in?
Yeah.
That's a question.
So, the one I didn't have is 14. So you might have to help me with that one. That was yes. So 14, we were saying yes. 15, we were saying yes. 16, we were saying yes. 17, we are definitely saying yes. 18, I believe, was yes. 19 was yes. And our current one that we've talked about, 20, is no. So if you've just gotten on the line, we'll try to pop this back in the comment section maybe later on, but 20 is no.
And since we're right there, before we move forward, down that scrolling on your screen, if you text SCFFIV to 40649, you can be in agreement with us on no on 20. Text SCFFIV to 40649. Thank you, Paula. And you fill out the pledge card, fill out the digital pledge card there. And then when the organization comes up, if you can put in their F&A concepts, the name of this broadcast, so we know that you filled it out and you did it through this platform, then there's something also special we're planning for the group of people tonight. But agree with us. If you're in agreement with us tonight, go ahead and text that number and put that information in there. It'll be quick and short and sweet. I might take some liberty, if it's okay. I want to take some liberty, and as you know, we us pastors have been known to do, and I am going to reach to the bottom, pull something up, before we go forward, and that is I'm going to pull up another related proposition to the group that we have been talking about, so that we can connect the dots. What I'm going to do, and that is basically Proposition 25. And I'm going to bring that up now, and then we'll resume with the rest of the ones that we have on the list. So, Michael, Proposition 25.
Proposition 25. Now, this one here is one of those propositions that you'll see a lot of ads about it. And the reason why you see a lot of ads is because those who will be most affected by your decision, financially, they have a lot of money, right? They have a lot of money to spend, and so they want to keep the bail in place because it will affect their bottom line. Their bottom line is feeding their family, but they feed their family off of an outdated business. And so it's time for them to upgrade their skills, just like we all have to upgrade our skills from time to time and learn something new. We have to learn something new. I had to upgrade my skills. I had to learn a trade. I had to learn some things in order to upgrade my skills so that I didn't capitalize off the demise of other people. And so if we capitalize off the demise of other people, chances are we're okay with crime. We'll be okay with violence. We'll sacrifice some people so that we can feed our family. So one side, on the side of civil rights groups, the criminal justice reform advocates arguing that cash bail is unjust because it allows wealthy defendants to buy their way out of jail as they await their trial, while poor defendants who are unable to post a bail are disproportionately Black and Latinos have to sit inside of a prison or jail until they are able to come out and go to court, and they come to court in shackles, where someone who is wealthy end up coming to court in their suit and tie because they're able to properly defend themselves because they're free, because they're able to post that bail. If we remove that, I'm not saying that this other system that they have in place will be perfect, but I guarantee you it will probably be better than what we've been dealing with, and it will allow for an assessment. So when if it's approved, the criminal defendants would no longer have to post a cash bond to get out of jail before they go to trial. Instead, their release would depend on the severity of their charges that they are facing, and it would be based on a risk assessment meant to determine whether they are likely to either commit a new crime while they're out waiting on the trial, or if they will show up to court. So chances are most defendants will show up to court, or that's a risk assessment. In order for me, before I went to a parole hearing, I had to have a risk assessment. The risk assessment was basically a conversation about my life, and it was done by a psychologist. Individuals are trying to say that it will be done by an algorithm, right? So the algorithm is usually determined by the input of the psychologist who does the risk assessment, not a computer generating these facts. It's done by another human being who could make an assessment which has the potential to be discriminatory. We're not finished with changing this stuff. We're just beginning the reforms. But right now, it's really important for us to make sure that we show that we have the ability to remove and reform this bail system first. And as we transfer from that, then we could eventually transform the risk assessment as well, because that is going to be a flawed process at some point, because you're going to be reliant upon other human beings to make these assessments. But it will be fairer than a bail process. The bail process has been proven since the beginning, since the ending of slavery. Since the emancipation of slaves, the bail system has been instituted, and it has been proven over this time to be discriminatory in this process.
So, thank you, Michael, again. I really hate following Michael. This is not fair, but I'm going to step out of my All of Us or None LSPC role right now, because we are neutral on Prop 25. I do have to disclose that. To step into my former life as a criminal justice reporter. So essentially what happened was I was a criminal justice reporter, and I started doing research. I was like, I can't do this objectively. This is horrible. And like many criminal justice reporters, I went into activism. So when I was a criminal justice reporter, I did a lot of research around SB 10. So SB 10 is what Prop 25 is trying to affirm, which is the end of cash bail in California. And when you'll see that the different progressive and outlets and grassroots organizations are split on 2020, and that's because of these algorithms. So there are some algorithms that are faulty. There are some algorithms that are good. There are some that say algorithms will never be good if you keep feeding them with biased data. And so I understand the concern when it comes to algorithms. What you should know is that California hasn't decided on an algorithm, that individual districts will be able to decide what to use, that a list will be provided and gone over many times through many research cycles, and a list will be provided by the Judicial Council. And the algorithm is one part of what replaces bail. It is not what replaces bail. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, is that bail will be replaced with something worse. And it's not just being replaced by algorithms. It's being replaced, like Michael said, with these interview processes, with actually treating each individual as a person, and with keeping public safety in mind. My personal belief is that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Cash bail is fundamentally unconstitutional. A San Francisco federal court decided that. And so when you, if you want progress, I myself am an abolitionist, cut the stuff out, and then work with what you have and develop what you have. But we won't have that opportunity if voters affirm an unconstitutional value like cash bail. And so my personal opinion, again, is is that we can work with finding the better fix, but cash bail will keep us in an old system that is broken.
Right.
I wanted to.
So when we think about Proposition 25, the way that I think about what the argument is going to be and what can be utilized to make people think that they need the cash bail system. Because people are going to try to use the fact that they're going to say that individuals with certain crimes can be released, but that's not true. Even when you remove the cash bail system, that the people charged with felonies and certain misdemeanor defendants, those accused of domestic violence crimes, stalking or sex crimes, or who have a history of failing to appear in court, among other exceptions, would be held for up to 36 hours while the court conducts the risk assessment. Anyone that's charged with a misdemeanor will be held to 12 hours and then released if they qualify for the risk assessment. But it says that we will classify defendants as being either a low a medium or high risk for committing a new crime or failing to show up for their court dates. That's the key. The whole point of holding someone in the county jail is to hold them until you can adjudicate or they can be seen by a judge and be tried, because we're all supposed to be we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. What the cash bail system has allowed to be instituted, and we also see through other processes, that individuals are guilty until they can prove their innocence. And so most Black and brown individuals have been stuck inside of a county jail, some of them innocent, until they can prove that they're innocent. They're deemed guilty right from the start, because they are not allowed to post bail, most of them without having to place up their home or something like that. And then we go back to the discriminatory practices or systemic racism in housing. So many African or Black and Latinos don't have a home that they can put up to post their bail. They're renting, right? So because of the discriminatory practices in renting and home ownership. So we can see this chain, this effect of systemic racism that's woven all the way through these things. What's happening right now is an opportunity to start pulling one thread out at a time. And so removing the cash bail process is one of those threads that we need to remove, that we need to pull back, and we need to loosen it, and so that it can be removed, and it will expose even more of the underbelly of our criminal justice system. It'll expose it.
And it's already implemented in San Francisco, and like besides the actual burning of like happening all around us with wildfires, like the city's not burning down. Like it's just like this is something that's already in practice. And it's being refined, and it doesn't just depend on algorithms. And then I would also say that this is an actual situation that's not hyperbole and it's not a hypothetical. You can have someone in jail right now who, like Michael said, is innocent until proven guilty, who cannot get out, and who will die because jail is an incubator for COVID-19. So you have just sentenced an presumably innocent person to death because they cannot afford to leave. So that's just.
And
I'd like to add this too. Jail is not just for diseases that is obvious like COVID, but also the disease of trauma-induced psychological torture. Many people don't believe that the United States jails and prison system conduct psychological torture. You try to go to sleep with the lights on 24/7. You try to go to sleep when there's noise 24/7. You try to go to sleep on an empty stomach because they feed you like a kindergarten. You try to go to the bathroom when they feed you nothing but bread, and it's very difficult. There are certain things that continue on daily and daily inside of jails and prisons that create a man who's innocent and could possibly turn him into a mental patient. And I just want to say this too, like Khalif Browder, who couldn't afford bail over a crime that he couldn't commit. We know a lot of people who are in this situation. And when we even speak about defunding the police, it's not about not having police in our community. It's about removing the need to solve our problems with bullets, or to solve our problems with archaic systems that causes more policing and more court rulings. Now, just imagine this. Just imagine, because a lot of times we have to imagine outside the box or think outside the box of how things are. Just imagine if we had a community committee that determined that person from that community, whether he was innocent or not, and should be released on bail, or if that person was received by a home or a person that says, I'll take responsibility for this person and make sure he shows up on time and for his court hearing. These type of ideas are way more healing for our communities than punitive and damaging, that we just think that's not possible, but it very much is.
And when we think about our bail system, most of the bail bondsmen have really close relationships with law enforcement and with the DA and with that entire structure. So it's not, that is the same, they're woven in together. When we think about removing that, we're talking about, creating an opportunity for a father who may be innocent to continue to work his job and continue to provide for his family, while he deals with the judicial system that he has to go and hold himself accountable. And if he has committed a crime, and it's a minor crime, or it's not a murder, it's not one of those crimes where they're saying that you can't be released, right, based on the nature of the crime, then he can continue to pay his rent. His family can learn to make the transition. I've seen individuals who are affluent get a chance to even pick the jail that they're going to go to, right? You know, and things of this nature. So we know that process has systemically been counterproductive to the strengthening of Black and brown families. So removing the cash bail offers the opportunity to keep Black and brown families intact while individuals have to go through the judicial process, if they have to go through the judicial process. But they should have the opportunity to keep their job, to allow their family to go experience a transition with them as well, unless their crime is against their family. If their crime is against their family, there can be other programs that can take them in and say, yeah, we'll take them in. We'll vouch for his appearance in his court hearings. So it opens up an opportunity for there to be a new industry that develops as opposed to the bail bondsmen. And, you know, one of the things I like about forums like this is that sometimes we can disagree on some things. And for me, I disagree with the term defund the police. I think that scares my white friends, right? When they hear about the term defund the police, they think and they see in their mind's eye, it paints a picture that I'm going to have a community without police in it. I like to use the term reallocate the funds, right? I think that we need to reallocate funds that are generated towards the law enforcement budget. I think that some of their budget should be geared towards mental health. Some of their budget should be geared towards after-school programs. I believe that law enforcement should be obligated to volunteer in the community that they serve without their uniform on, that they should be obligated to live in the community that they serve, that they cannot work in a community and live in another community, that they should have to sleep and go sleep next door to me in order to police me, they should be my neighbor, right? I believe.
Can y'all tell Michael that he needs to wait until his term to run? I mean, I'm just saying, like, no, for real. Like, come on, just wait your turn before you start campaigning for office.
Because they probably won't let me run no way, right?
Ain't nobody tell you what you can and cannot do. That day.
I'm gonna tell you, you know, I'm gonna do my best to be an individual that try to encourage people to think. I don't want to tell people what to think. I want to encourage them to think, how to look at things and how to perceive from a spiritual place, right? And when we think about this isn't a battle against people. This is a battle against a spirit that wants to keep a certain group of people down and is feeding off of trying to encourage other people to feel superior and egotistical over others. That's what the spirit is doing. But when we use certain language, we lose some of our support, and we need support to really fight this fight. And to use the term defund the police, I think we lose some of the support that we need to do what everybody knows needs to be done. Everybody knows what needs to be done.
Mike, give me what you called it again. What you, instead of defund?
Reallocate funds. That means, and build some collaborative relationships. You know, because the reality is that we need to build some collaborative relationships with law enforcement. And so before the police show up, a mental health provider should have been at that scene where a mental health patient was at. Because when the police show up, they come up with bullets. That's what they're showing up with. I think we need to show up with some hearts of compassion first. But if that's all we come up with, we call for bullets, then that's what they bring it.
Michael, you got my vote, bro. I'm gonna write you in right now.
We're transitioning.
One of the things that you mentioned, though, I mean, here is that this is what we're here for, right? To educate, for people to be informed, not just to say go vote, but to be an educated, informed voter. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King, it says, one of the most dangerous things is sincere ignorance and sincere stupidity. It says that we have the obligation to be informed, to be intelligent. so that we can make the right decisions and be the people, because they are counting on our ignorance and our fear. They're counting on it. So that's what we're here for today.
Absolutely.
Tony, did you have?
Yeah, I was saying, I know we're transitioning, and so I just wanted to say I monitor stuff, and so I do it. I do crowd control all the time, and so one is that there's individuals. First of all, those of you that are just like consistently hanging in there, and really following along. So super just acknowledge and appreciate you. Know that this is some heavy information, and it is a lot that is on the plate, a lot that is on the ballot. And so if you're feeling the heaviness, can you imagine the weight of those that don't have this information? And so, really wanting to encourage you to share this information that you're getting this evening. And the other thing I wanted to say in regard to everything that Michael and Paula, Daryl, William, all of them that have shared, is that our society has criminalized people of color. They've put images, messaging for years and years and years since slavery was supposedly abolished, that Black men, are criminals, that they're vicious, that they're rapists. Be fearful of them. Now, detention centers, beds, they're filling them up. And if you're Latinx, if you are a Latin man, you are a criminal. You're illegal. You're what have you. And I'm saying that intentionally because with these policies, I'm saying this. Thank you, God, to address the fear that is in our psyche. We are afraid to support some of these policies because we're afraid that if we support these policies and make changes, that we're going to set these criminals free and harm will come to us.
Right.
I wanted to speak to that fear. I wanted to speak to that because that fear is a lie, and it is messaging that has been sent to you through the TV news, outlets, media, all over the place in order to make it appear as though Daryl, Michael, Pastor Fred, William, Curtis, that these individuals are criminals, that a criminal looks like him. A criminal, if he doesn't dress in a suit and a tie, if he doesn't look, there's a white collar criminal, but you don't have to fear him. But if he looks a certain way with a certain color, be fearful. So I can't vote. I can't vote no on 20 because those criminals might get free and hurt me. I can't do that. And I wanted to encourage you to fight against that fear that says that it's still okay to profile these individuals and take their freedom away based on messaging that you've been conditioned to believe.
Right. And Tony, I just really want to express that at 20 years old, when I made the choices that I made that sent me to prison, I needed to be in prison. I was acting out of my own personal trauma. I had not healed some wounds that were operating inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
They could have let me out 2 years later and I wouldn't have never been back. But because of the way that our justice system was structured, it took 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Rehabilitation and reform is happening inside of the institutions, and most of it is happening by other incarcerated individuals. And so I don't want anyone to misunderstand that me speaking about these issues is somehow me thinking or saying that I didn't commit a crime to be in prison. I did, but the justice system wasn't designed for me to be improved. I had to search out on that journey myself. And when we think about our law enforcement, police don't fight crime. They show up after a crime. We need structures, we need entities, we need bodies that come and fight crime. That's mental health practitioners. That is drug and alcohol counselors. That is youth counselors. Those are individuals that show up as peacekeepers. Those are individuals that fight crime. I'm a crime fighter. Because somebody is in trauma, they're going to call me. I'm going to go and try to help them with their trauma before they take it out on other people. That's what we do. That's what William do. That's what Daryl do. That's what we're about. That's what the church does. And so we don't want to invest more money just into policing. We want to invest it into crime fighting.
I'd also add that if we're going to change the language in which we operate from, instead of using defunded police and allocating resources, there is a lot of language that we need to get out of that stems from white supremacy and just the language of black and white, because legally defined, and Mike may know this, white means free and black means slave. It has absolutely nothing to do with the color of your skin or where you come from. So if we're really going to go down the journey of reading of using healing language, then Mike, I also have to disagree that you needed prison, because prison was designed for something other than healing you at 20 years old when you wasn't even 25, 26, where you were fully developed in the mind. You needed a hospital. You didn't need prison. You needed a school. You didn't get a school. You needed a whole bunch of other things than prison. That's why it would only take you 2 years. And there are people like Daryl who got his certification in counseling inside of prison. Guards does not rehabilitate. Wardens do not rehabilitate. None of the bricks and barbed wire rehabilitated us. It was men like us who stood up and said, you know what? We figured it out, and we're going to help each other figure it out and get out. So yeah, the language needs to be changed in a whole lot of things that we speak on.
I received that, brother. I believe that the truth can handle a question. It's our lies that crumble with questioning. And you just helped something crumble inside of me, because what you just expressed resonated in my spirit, and it settled something inside of me. So I needed to hear that, brother. I appreciate that.
Okay. Y'all are saying some amazing stuff, and I don't know if you're looking at any of the comments, but people are just really just in awe of all of the information that you are giving. So we are once again so grateful that you've taken this time out to be with us and share this information. But one of our team is about to sign off, and I wanted her to be able to have her say, because like I said, I'm so grateful for all of you taking your time out and being on here. So Miss Paula, we're gonna let you have your last say before you sign off from us.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, Baldwin 2024. No, I apologize. This has been really wonderful to engage with such wonderful and intelligent people. I have a young revolutionary to put to sleep, so I'm going to go do that. I did want to say, yeah, Tony's right. There's a lot happening on this ballot, and I would say that right around the time where they passed the Civil Rights Act, they said the moral test of a government is not by how it treats its most vulnerable citizens. And so I would really hope that you vote with your heart, you vote with your faith, that you check in with whatever higher power you believe, and realize that you are not just voting for yourself, that you are voting for this country's most vulnerable, and that you and your vote can make real change. I know that we're often so jaded by politics, but that is a form of voter suppression as well. Do not be jaded. Do not stop marching. Do not stop voting. Do not stop believing that you can make real change in your community. You can you can find out more information at freevote2020.org. You can also find information in the All of Us Are None newspaper, which is at prisonerswithchildren.org/AOUON-newspaper. That is a mouthful. And if anyone want to get in touch with me, I'm at paula@prisonerswithchildren.org. Thank you so much for having me. This has really been wonderful. And I will make yard signs and bumper stickers. Everyone, get Michael on the ballot. I love it. I love it. It's fantastic.
I love you, Paula.
Paula, can you say your email again? Paula, can you say your email again, please?
It is Paula, Paula, @ prisonerswithchildren.org. And then you could also find out information about our campaign in our newspaper. There's a profile of Tariq if you want to learn a little bit more about him. And at Prisoners, if you go to the website, prisonerswithchildren.org. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night.
Later, Paula.
Night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, Paula. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say something because I know I'm gonna have to go. I haven't even checked in with my family. My wife went to sleep, so she said I was no good right now. So I just came in from work. So I appreciate Paula, Tariq, and all of you showing up. Like I'm saying, one thing that I always learn, and it probably goes back to my childhood. If you call on me, I'm coming. But when you call on me now today, I'm coming, but I'm only coming for the right thing, and I'm gonna pull some people with me. I'm gonna pull some people that's even stronger than me, And see, that was the fear that most people have when they was out there, not to pull somebody that was stronger than them. But I always look for people that's stronger than me because I might not know. And when you don't know, most people act like they know. And I would never be like that again. So I appreciate everybody that's here, because I might have been on the panel, but I was listening because it educated me. So all those who are watching or who are listening, humble yourself, because one of the things that you get up out of that is knowledge. So I appreciate everybody. Tariq, I'll call you in the morning, talk with you. Fred, Angela, it's a blessing. I'm glad we met because we can be able to sit here at this table and talk. Next time we won't have to break bread.
Yes, sir.
And eat as a family because we was talking like a family. All right. So I appreciate everybody. I get a shoe thrown at me from the back of my head. I'm right now. So
I want no violence. I think this is domestic violence awareness. So we don't want no trouble. We appreciate your time, sir. Really do. Thank you.
No, wife is always right.
You are blessed. You are blessed.
Well, I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
All right. Have a wonderful.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Hey, we only got four more.
Right.
Tony.
21, 22, 23, and 24.
Oh, and we did the heavy hitting ones already, right?
Yeah.
One of them is a little spooky, scary, but so where we at, Pastor Curtis?
21.
Expand local government authority to enact rent control on residential property. So this is once again Costa-Hawkins, right? The repeal of Costa-Hawkins. Am I correct? And so a proposition in an attempt to repeal Costa-Hawkins so that we can implement rent control in the different cities throughout the state. The way that it is set up now, I believe that there is rent control in some cities, and I know that we do have rent caps that have been established on a state level. However, rent control, if it is implemented, allows people like myself, community organizers then to organize for rent control within each one of the cities that we're in and implement it on those levels. So a yes on 21 would not implement rent control immediately, but it would take the hold off of cities' ability to implement rent control in their different jurisdictions. If I missed anything or didn't get it right, come on in, Pastor Curtis or Mike or someone help me out.
Mike, you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, when we think about rent control, it's in dire need, especially with in the community that I live in. We have a lot of the Bay Area families are expanding outside of the Bay Area, and they're able to afford a lot higher rent. We need we need the ability for the state or the city to be able to cap the amount that a landlord can charge for a renter. Because right now you have a few homes where individuals are actually pushed out of the home, because the landlord can say, I need you to move, or I'm giving you a 30 or 60-day notice, because the renting market is booming. So they want to raise the rent. They don't want you to pay your $1,200. They want to be able to get $1,400 or $1,900 for the same space that you're renting for $1,200. If we had that cap on the renting, then they wouldn't be able to do that. And we need that level of control, because we have a lot of discrimination happening even in the renting policies.
Mhm.
The place I'm in right now, Modesto, for example, we've been able to do some research and find it written inside of some of the infrastructure, the building of the houses, saying that not to even rent to people who were of African American descent or Asian descent. It was actually written inside of the some of the documents, the deeds to the house. The only way that those people could sell the house was the guarantee that they weren't going to rent or allow and people of color to live in these spaces. So we know that there's always been systemic racism in housing. To kind of like manage that and control that and not dictate for landlords to be able to dictate communities and who lives in communities, we need some rent control.
So a yes
And
on.
just for,
Go ahead.
I was just going to add, because I know you mentioned Costa-Hawkins. So I just want people to understand what you were talking about. The state law known as Costa-Hawkins, it limits local rent control laws. So Costa-Hawkins creates three main limitations. And at this point with Costa-Hawkins on it, rent control laws cannot apply to single family homes, which most people that rent houses are in. Rent
Right.
control laws cannot apply to any newly built housing completed on or after February 1st, 1995. And rent control laws cannot tell landlords what they can charge a new renter when first moving in. So Proposition 21 narrows the limits on local rent control laws under Costa-Hawkins, allowing cities and counties to apply rent control to more properties than under the current law that exists right now.
So yes.
Right, Tony?
Yes, that is exactly right.
Yes.
That is exactly right.
Living in San Francisco, you gotta vote yes. You gotta vote yes 3 times.
Yes, and yes.
Cast 3 of them ballots for yes,
Yes,
on
yes,
that
and
one.
yes, for real.
Yeah.
Real talk, man.
They're renting out closet space for
Right.
$900. They throwing a bucket and a
Shower
wash rack in there,
tub.
calling it a full bedroom and whatnot. It's ridiculous. So I mean, we make light of it, but I live in San Francisco, and at first I had to rent a room in a house with 3 other roommates, and I'm like, man, I'm 50 years old. What? Come on, man! I ain't never lived by myself, and so I had to find a rental assistance just to move in my own place, and that's and hey, I accepted it, but at some point your dignity rides on this as well. Like, I want to be able to afford my own place, my own way, my own car, my own thing, and feel like I'm finally a grown up doing my own thing, paying my own bills, because somebody's still paying my bills. They can tell me what to do. And this is what happens with gentrification. When you don't own your own property and you're renting from somebody, then they can put anybody they want in there. They can then say, hey, you out, they're in, because they're in tech and they can pay me more money. But what about, I've been living here, I've been keeping up the property, I've been keeping up the community, we've established roots here, we have culture here, that don't mean anything. So even moving forward after this election, and if we don't want it to happen again, to where our communities are gentrified, then we really need to start teaching our people how to buy real estate, how to make it appreciate, go up in value, and hold it and pass it to the next generation.
Absolutely.
Right.
And when we think about how communities are formed and gerrymandering is when you kind of like move and redistrict a community. And so depending on who is the landowners in those areas, they get a chance to determine who's going to live in those areas. and who has power in those areas, whose voice and whose vote has power in those areas. So when we don't own any of that property, then we're completely subjected to the landowners, right? And most landowners, when we think about plantations and things of this nature, you're talking about that sometimes is the mentality of some landowners, is that this is their land, this is their plantation, this is their property. So anything that lives on it is part of their property as well, And so we want to make sure that we can start having some controls over how much funds that they can take from individuals that come and need to be on their property.
Okay, so we are on to Prop 22. Is that me?
That's you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Exempt app-based transportation and delivery companies for providing employee benefits to certain drivers. Prop 22. This is the classifies app-based drivers as independent contractors instead of employees. So this is the Uber, the Lyft, the DoorDash, the different. Right now, they are considered independent contractors. Now, here's what I did as a community organizer in order to get some kind of scope on this. I talked to the people. I know y'all think that's crazy, right? But I actually went and talked to people that did DoorDash and Lyft and Uber, because I don't. And so this is one of those things when I started off by saying, if you're going to go in and vote, make sure that you're carrying those with you. So the ones that I've spoken to that actually do provide these services, the majority of them that I've spoken to, they want to remain independent contractors and do not want this, which means they're asking that we vote yes so that they can stay independent contractors. A no on this would mean that they would become employees and it would shift the way that they're able to actually do it. So now DoorDash could be a side hustle. It could be your side gig. It could be the extra thing that you do to bring a little bit of extra income, to help you get through the week or what have you. But to change that would change the structure in which it is, and the freedom and the liberties in which they are able to move about right now with this. And so that was my breaking down the blah, blah, blah of that. Pastor Curtis, you want to change it? Bring a little. No, shaking your head. That was good.
I encourage people to talk to people that are doing this. I mean, in this time right now, especially with what has happened with COVID, those losing employment, this has become basically their sustainability, in this time. And so I would say that, many of us actually know people that are doing the different ones that Tony mentioned, even the Instacart, all of those different, I should say, app-based driver, jobs. So I would say that talk to them. That's what I did as well. I know quite a few of them that are doing that. Even, some of my my pastor friends at this time are doing that. It's a way of survival. And so I would say, give them a holler, but find out more information, especially from the people, as we mentioned, the people that are closest to the issue are the ones, that are closest to the solution, that know the solution. And so we'll go ahead.
No, I would think that this is also entrepreneur status to a employee status. So it kind of changes the dynamics of finances and what you can do and what you can't do as being employed to being your own, being self-employed. So I think Tony, you did, in your interviewing and dealing with folks, you get that ideas. These are people that wanted to do their own business and take advantage, like everybody else does, of all the great things that happen of being a small business and what that means for as taxes and being able to apply for loans or whatever it may be.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, the misconception is that, becoming an employee, then all of a sudden you have all these types of benefits. And I should say the misconception is that they don't get any right now, and that's not true. So I know people who have had drunk people who are a little tipsy, I should say. I won't say drunk, a little tipsy, and they have a little accident where they bring back up all of their things that they put in their body. And I know drivers that have received finances from the company they work for in order to get that taken care of. I know people have been in accidents where they've received something. There are certain things that are already in place, and the narrative is actually that they're not, and everything, that they just, are out there on their own. So that's why I say definitely talk to the people that are involved in this, so that you can get the true aspect of what they are without us making assumptions, that are put out there, by who seems to gain the most benefit by this, asking and going against the people that are actually doing the job.
Which apparently isn't an Uber driver.
Right.
But that's my opinion.
And you have some individuals who study other people just so that they can find a way to benefit from them. So when the Uber drivers started driving, nobody wanted to be their boss. They didn't think it was going to last. But COVID-19 kind of like made everybody want to shift the way that we think. And someone saw an opportunity where they can capitalize off of somebody else. And now they can have these entrepreneurs become employees of theirs so that they can benefit from the work that they're doing. I think let them stay independent contractors, because sometimes when you think about the benefits, sometimes the benefit is being able to make your own schedule. Yeah. You ain't got to give me nothing else. Let me make my own schedule. That's my benefit.
Yes, sir.
I can with my children, and I can teach them how to become entrepreneurs themselves.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Because I might need a side hustle. I might shoot, William, I'm in Stockton paying $1,295 a month for my 1-bedroom, 1-bath spot, which about 4 or 5 years ago, Pastor Curtis, was $900 for the closet space that they're paying for in San Francisco now. Shoot, sister girl might have to get a lift sign and throw it on the car, and pick up folks up. And I don't want to have to apply for the position. I want to just do the process that we do so that I can make my little extra going about my business.
And I think it's big. I think it's big too, because it's the beginning of other jobs that are like this. That if this goes awry, what's the next one?
Right.
Good.
So we supporting that one then. The concrete teams would have said yes. We give that one a thumbs up, and we're gonna say we recommend a yes on Prop 22. I have to take Faith in the Valley off of my name and go off the clock. I could do that too, though. I'm a little rogue. Pastor Curtis, what's next?
Proposition 23.
Right,
Proposition 23. It requires physician on-site at dialysis clinics and consent from the state for a clinic to close. The proposition establishes minimum staffing and other requirements for outpatient kidney dialysis clinics. Proposition 8 in 2018 also dealt with dialysis clinics. The proposition did not pass in 2018 and is being offered again by its proponents. A yes vote on Proposition 20 means kidney dialysis clinics will be required to operate under the new requirements, and a no vote means that kidney dialysis treatments will continue to operate under existing rules and standards. So basically, again, we're talking about control. We're talking about, seeing the dialysis clinics, pop up, all over the place, which is already another issue of why we have these, and then another issue of who's the ones that are most frequently the patients of these dialysis clinics, and why and how did we get there. But right now at this point, again, one of the things I did personally is to ask someone who needs dialysis that goes to one of those clinics about their experience and about the requirement of doctors being there. And basically, again, this takes the research, I say, of asking people that that are connected to this situation, that have to go through this. In my research, I found out that most of the people that are going are fine with with how they are. They have, even in emergency situations, they seem that they've been able to get people to emergency, to the emergency room, at local hospitals and things like that. And then there's relationships like that. And the question has been, is now, is the state, just trying to take over something that basically, was started, that they don't have any hand or regulation over. And what's the benefit? Usually, we're saying follow the money, and you'll follow, you'll get to the reason, of why somebody wants to, have this requirement and regulation. And according to all of the ads and things like that, I mean, it sounds good when they're putting it out there on the ads, like, yeah, there should be a doctor, and yes, somebody should basically regulate, and somebody should basically, be able to tell them that they can't close their clinic, or, that they were going to open it and everything. But again, I have seen, and so I'm opening this to some of our panel discussions of what you have heard, on this yourselves, until we come to a collective what we're saying on the panel tonight, as far as Proposition 23, or if there's any questions in the box, regarding to this particular proposition, we can answer.
No, right now it looks like we're good on that.
Yeah, I've only had a little bit of feedback about this one, and it was basically that the way that it's being conducted right now, that individuals are able to survive. No, it's fine just the way it is. If it was broken, and they would be the first ones to really want to change it. Right now, follow the money and see who's trying to change it, and look and see what type of benefit they're trying to receive from someone else's ailment. And that's the only thing that I would say.
Yeah, that's the same consent that I've also heard as well.
Can you just give a little clarity, Pastor Curtis? A yes on this means what, and a no on this means what?
Yes means that it will be required to operate under new requirements, and a no says keep it as it is.
And the nurses and the people that are they opposing this?
Yes.
All right. Well, it looked like we got one left, sir. After this great conversation tonight.
Amend the consumer privacy law. Well, if that means that we get more protection on privacy, and I ain't gotta have people sending me all kind of stuff because somebody took a picture of me in a blue jacket and threw it on social media, and then they started sending me all kind of blue jackets for sale, then I say yes, amend it. But I just want to be sure that that's what I'm saying yes to amend. Let me make sure first. Privacy, yes, on the internet.
Yes. Yes, on the Proposition 24.
I'm gonna be like the game show host. Is that your final answer?
So it expands the provisions of the California Consumer Privacy Act. So that means enlarges that more coverage, I should say, and it creates a new state agency to enforce. So we're increasing enforcement of consumer privacy. So I've heard nothing but yes, on this is get out of my business. That type of thing.
Yeah, because during COVID, I developed an online addiction, shopping, which I had never done before in my life.
Yep.
I was totally against it. I couldn't understand why other people was doing it. But what they were doing was targeting me based off of one thing I bought. And next thing you know, I had shoes with my last name on it. And I was like, how this happen? So once they get them cookies on you, man, it is trying to get broke off. So we need some privacy, man. I need to shop in privacy.
Right. You don't even have to buy anything. If you stay on that page for 1 second too long, we're gonna know. Oh, you were interested in that. We're gonna keep let it come up on your feed.
Oh, I was looking for a desk,
Right.
y'all, and I promise you, that's all I seen was desks. I was like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got the desk. That somebody must have told them that I bought the desk, right? Because now they sending me pictures of chairs to desks,
Yeah, they develop a whole new meaning to Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
They on your track.
Woo! So we
So-
said yes.
I even
Yes.
think that yes. Because I even think what they hear, I could have sworn I was talking about gas prices one day. The next thing I know, I'm seeing ads pop up talking about gas prices somewhere. So I
Yeah.
don't trust none of the systems.
Oh,
Get
yes.
out my business.
You're saying it's the truth, man. You speaking the truth.
And they follow you. So if you have your GPS on your phone, I saw a friend of mine post something that they saw that she was at a particular store, and then they started. She had something pop up on her phone about a sale at that store while she was there. She's like, "How crazy is this?"
It's a different avenue of what they call geofencing. So geofencing is supposed to work in that sense of if you do that yourself. But they found they have a way now of being able to do that without you actually saying, "Hey, I want to do this." So when I walk into Walgreens, I want to know what is the sale or whatever. No, now they'll tell you
you're
as
at
soon as you walk
Walgreens.
in.
Here, why don't you buy this?
Right. Oh yeah, it's pretty bad.
And
It
I'm
is
sure
pretty bad.
if you look at this bill of who's probably against it, it's probably going to be a lot of social media groups.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. They like
So, yeah.
tap because that's their
Like
advertising.
some
But,
things that existed back in the day are just exactly what we need. So grandmama used to just look at the paper, right? When it came out, she knew what she wanted to go get and she knew where she wanted to go. Those papers are still in the store when you walk in, sitting in a little cart right there when you get there. We're going to be able to manage without them telling us, where we are and to grab something, because you've been posting on something that you've been having this itch on your knee. But as we're wrapping up, first again, Angela, thank you so much for what you guys are doing in this platform on tonight. I definitely want to make sure people are. The one thing I want to lift up too is that the deadline to register to vote was October 19th. But if that's what you have been, I should say, holding back, saying I didn't register in time, you still can. What happens is you may have to go. You will be considered a provisional voter, and basically there's a process after the votes come in about the provisional votes that are counted. So don't let that stop you, or if that's something that you're hearing. The Office of Registrars for your city, your county, where you are, look that up, that information for your county. Those are also places that are accepting ballots. They also list on their websites official ballots, and they show you what they look like so that you won't be duped into these fake ballots that we in California are having posted and put up, and having people turn in their ballots to people that are not official. And say, so you can see the pictures, you can see what also the locations where the approved locations for drop-offs are. For people, especially, we've been addressing the faith community. There is a way that you can actually, take ballots, to the poll from your congregation, and drop them off. You can go to those centers and you can actually vote. If you've lost your ballot, you can get another one and you can vote there. If there's something missing off of your ballot, and that does happen, you can go there to those places there and you can get the new one that has everything that you want to vote for on there. So some things, there's just all these different types of ways. I say use the Office of Registrars in your county as a go-to, like a rapid response, whatever. I know here in our county, they have even said if you call the day of on November 3rd and you need one, they will get one to you. If you're a senior and you need somebody, if you need somebody to bring it if you didn't get yours. If you are registered and you haven't got it by now, call, because you should have had it by now. So just wanted to try to give you guys all the information that we can and to let you know that we've been tracking the responses that have been received so far. And in our community, I should say our community, saying the Black community, we are the lowest number out of all the ethnicities that have returned our ballots so far. And when I say the gap, is that it jumps from like, a under 10% to a 50 to other ethnicities, and so what I'm saying, is that we are holding on to them. And part of that is getting information like we did tonight in order to return them. And some of that is that we've got November 3rd stuck in our head, and that's our date. I am encouraging everyone, if you got the information that you need at this point, fill it out, go drop it off, or put it in the mail. If you don't trust the mail, find the drop-off location. Drop-off locations are for 4 days prior to election. So starting on the 31st, they are open. And I know in Sacramento, the Fortune School, the Decorah Porter college prep school on Meadowview is going to be a 24-hour drop box location. So look up the information, find out where you can go, find out who you can trust. And then with us, you can always contact us at, faithinthevalley.org. It's just our first names, Curtis or Tony, at faithinthevalley.org to get information.
Wait, what you tell them to contact me for? I wasn't paying attention.
I will let you know in our meeting. I'll let you know.
Okay.
But it's
okay.
There. Michael and Tariq, you guys want to give out contact information? You guys want to give out contact information for yourselves?
No. Hey, look, if they said no.
Michael,
If not, we'll wait till we see you on the ballot.
I was going to let Mike go first because but if he doesn't want to. My name, you can reach me at TARIQ, that's Tariq at prisoners with an S with children.org. Or you can find me on Instagram at Soul Brother number 9, or Uncuffed Underground. Yes, I saw that Soul to the Pole. Soul Brother number 9 supports that for sure. You can also find me on SoundCloud for Uncuffed Underground. We're going to be doing some podcasting. We got Instagram II, who talks about his relationship with his son, Instagram III, who got killed in the Fruitville Station. There's more to come on that because they're reopening the case. So yeah. And on Facebook, Abolish Slavery National Network. We want to make sure that slavery ends today.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Michael.
If you want to reach me, you can contact Pastor Curtis or Tony.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I can't today.
We gotta know where to reach you because we gotta start working with you on your campaign.
Absolutely. So one of the ways I'm gonna stay safe is to make sure that you contact them too. You gotta get me there first. No, you can reach me. You can reach me at baldwinsr@gmail.com. Also, you should be looking forward to seeing Legacy Alliance outreach on all of your platforms really soon, probably within the next week. You can also reach me at MBSC consultants at gmail.com. And other than that, man, just recognize me. I'll be out there in traffic, you see me out there with them, man. I try to keep my feet on the pavement, man, but I really got to get out there to see you, Tariq. We got to touch bases, man. We got to do lunch or something, man. We didn't, I love spending time with you and seeing you, brother. I learned a lot from Tariq, and I'm just inspired every time I hear him. I don't know if you all know, but some of the cases that the law cases that Tariq fought to liberate himself affects thousands of other inmates today. Thousands. I work at a law office, and so we hear a lot of guys call and ask me to send them a copy of the Palmer versus California cases so that they can learn from the fights that he won, and they can liberate themselves from the things that he's been able to accomplish through the legal system. And his cases are published, and therefore they are able to apply the law that he was able to get to liberate himself. They're able to apply that to themselves. So he not only became free, but there's a tailwind behind him pulling other people free. And so I'm just always inspired when I get a chance to interact with the brother and to see him in these platforms. And I'm really proud of everything that he's accomplishing in his freedom, you know.
So he gonna run with you as VP. Then.
Right, there it is, right there.
I got it. All
He
right.
just vetted you for the vice presidency.
Yeah, one last.
Thanks, Mike, man. That means a
I
lot.
want everybody to again, well, on the scrolling on the bottom to text SCF FIV 40649. That's SCF FIV 40649. Fill out the pledge card there, and when they ask you for the organization, just put FNA Concepts for tonight, and you will be entered into a drawing. And believe me, your holidays will be very blessed if you enter into this contest.
Miriam Brown.
So do I qualify?
Huh? You're already on there, though.
I just want to say that I did it.
Like the Publishers Clearinghouse, remember, excluding employees, excluding relatives of employees.
I just wanted to add that during the show, I was trying to do that, and it was in Spanish. So you're gonna have to send me one in English.
There, when you come up, you either there's a link for English or Spanish. Did you see that?
I'm gonna have to revisit that then, because I showed my prize. I'm in the prizes.
Yeah, it asks you for English or Spanish. And so Tony left us because she couldn't enter the contest. I just want to say, you guys, both of you guys, I mean, we're in the presence of greatness, and I thank God, you know, for you guys both being here. And most of all, I want to thank you guys for turning your pain into passion and to purpose. Definitely, you guys are blessing. You're blessed to be a blessing, and God is using you guys in such a mighty way. So just thank you for who you are, and then thank you for loving enough to share what you've been through and turn it into a purpose. So
yes,
thank you.
Yeah.
I want to thank Fred and Angela Jackson for having me on, for Daryl for inviting me. Pastor, you did a great job. Michael's always been great being on the show with you, and it's nice to meet you, Tony. This was a pleasure. Like you said, I knew that I had a purpose for my life, because when I was in the throes of my crime, the police officer who I was robbing, I didn't know he was. He retrieved his gun and shot at me 15 times, point blank range. And one of those bullets hit me in the back of the knee and hit nothing but fat and skin, which I'm skinny already. So there is no room for missing, other than how the Creator decided for that to happen. So I knew right then, after I escaped those 15 death warrants, that I had a purpose for my life, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. I didn't involve myself in a lot of prison industrial industries, because I didn't want to maintain the prison that was locking me down. And when I got out, I kind of regretted that I didn't educate myself more and give myself a better trade. But the Creator had something way greater in store for me than I could have ever imagined. And He began to put stepping stones in my way, and all I had to do was walk in faith. And every time I picked up my foot and put it down, there was another stepping stone. Wow. And when I decided to divert every now and then to chase some lower passions, He would slap me across the back of the head and say, "Get back on track, boy. You know you got a job to do." And I said, "You're absolutely right." And I apologize for being a disobedient servant, because you didn't bring me this far to let me go. So thank you for everything that you've done. Our community needs advice. They need guidance. And that's what we gave them today. And God bless you guys all.
Yes.
And I love it.
I also I'm gonna go first.
No, I should let you go first.
I just wanted to thank Fred and Angela for allowing me to be on here with you all, and I believe that you're doing an amazing thing. I hadn't seen your Facebook page until right now, and I was scrolling through, and a few of my friends already was like, "Man, you wasn't up on them," and and so now I'm up on you. So I will be tuning in quite often. And Pastor Curtis, it's been a pleasure, interacting with you and getting to know you. And Queen Tony, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
I can't stand them. These pastors are y'all, man.
Yes. And Tyreek, you're a genius, man. You're a genius. I just really wanted to be clear that I think that one of the most important things and most liberating thing that we can do is vote, exercise our voice. We cannot allow the presidential race to distract us from those other races that are happening around us, those smaller situations, those city council seats, those mayoral seats. Those are critical for our community. They are the veins that get the resources directly to us. Their jobs and their position is to make sure that the resources reach us. And if we don't have them on our side, or if they are inundated with systemic racism, then chances are that the resources will get to them and then they'll redirect them away from us. And so we need to educate ourselves and our people, because we cannot be silent anymore. Silence is compliance. And so we need to speak up. And whatever your position is, right? Whatever your position is, use your voice. And so I just want to encourage people to vote, and to have a say in something. Stand for something. Stand for something.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Lizette Nunes, who is my assistant in helping to get people out of prison. She's a law student at Berkeley, and she's amazing. Her research, and it's a community effort in this fight. So thank you, Liz, and shout out to your wonderful work in helping and what we do.
Absolutely.
So Tariq, it was an honor meeting you, and sharing this space with you, Michael, as usual, all that and some. Pastor Curtis, we'll debrief tomorrow, because he's my boss, right? Or one of them. And so, he's going to text me Monday, and Pastor Curtis is my director.
I got to holler at you about some stuff, boss man.
And you go for it. Look, you go for it. I'd be surprised if anything is a surprise. But what I wanted to do, and I didn't mean to fast track it like that, Tariq, for real though, I do want to just look. I'm gonna reach out to you about some more stuff, because no, nothing is an accident. Your life, nothing that happened in your life is by happenstance. God uses everything. Even if we didn't like it and we didn't think it was for our good, he still can turn that thing around and use it for good. And it may not have felt good to us, but hundreds or thousands of people benefit from, that thing that happened to us, which then becomes something that is for good. And so I just really am grateful for sharing space with you. Y'all have made me cry in this space, all of that. I have to suck it up and be strong. I'm very passionate when it comes to this prison industrial complex and what's going on in slavery. And I do it all day. If I had the opportunity and to be paid to do it all day, I would do it all. But my ED has other things that I have to do too. That being said, pastors, I wish, and I'm going to say this from my whole heart, I wish that we could clone you. Don't get weepy, Tony. I wish that there was a way that we could take what it is, that the heart and the essence of what it is that you're doing in this moment, and duplicate and replicate. If there was a way, that it could just be interwoven into the hearts and understanding the significance of faith leaders taking the lead and ensuring that the people, that the sheep, that those that they have charge over, the dominion that they can reach with their voice and just their yes to making sure people are informed. What you guys are doing is phenomenal. What you have done is remarkable. People will vote, and they will vote because they are informed, simply because you took the time out to create space to ensure that they have the knowledge and the information. And you did not think that it was not relevant or a waste of your time, or unnecessary. I just wish so much that other faith leaders would follow that lead, because the people in the community of color, they follow the lead of their faith leaders. They follow the lead of their faith leaders. I'll say it one more time. They follow the lead of their faith leaders. And when faith leaders don't speak, then people that are following them don't speak either. If you don't say, I can go on. I'm gonna pause there. I appreciate what you are doing. And I pray that other people will see what you are doing and follow that example and take courage in doing it.
Amen. Wow, that was heavy.
Yeah, she wants somebody to follow after that.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
She talked about Michael all this night.
Yeah. She gonna be in the cabinet.
Right.
I just want to say most definitely that I appreciate all of you taking your time out, and I know that for all of you, this is a passion for you. This isn't something that you just said, "Oh, I can make money off of doing this, and I'll do it." This is a passion for Tariq. I mean, this is life for you and Michael. You live this thing, and so this isn't just I'm going to do this because I'm a good person and I want to tell others. You have a passion and a heart for this because this was your livelihood.
Yes, it's
and it's just like a parent that you try to tell your kids how to do stuff, and then you have to let them go about bumping their heads or whatever, but you're always trying to do the best and trying to get them to avoid situations of falling into something that you fell into. So I am humbled and honored that you all said, hey, Daryl said, hey, can you be on the show? And Curtis said the same thing to you, Mike, can you be on the show? And you guys came and you shared your passion and you shared your heart. And I believe because of that, because of Tony and because of Paula, that people, when they decide to either do their ballot or they go to the polls, that they're going to be informed. And I want to tell you, we don't have a huge audience, but I do know that people go back and they look at these. So the opportunity to go back and get the information before November the 3rd, and even as my brother Pastor Curtis said, even now, because in the nation, it's been over 40 million people that have voted already. So people want change.
Absolutely.
But folks are sometimes confused, and I believe you said it earlier, Michael, that we just take whatever people give us. But if we take the time and we give information, this is probably the longest just moments that we ever had since we've started this. But if it helps us to move along as a people and as a country, and we could talk for 5 hours as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead, because I'll keep on going. I'll be like Tony. I'll keep on going.
Yeah, you were on your soapbox. But I do echo your sentiments, though, Fred, that, we are very, very appreciative that you all took time out to help us with our decision. And when we were getting this segment together, we were like, we wanted to give people the information so they can make the best decision for them that aligns with their conscience, with their concerns, with their views. But this gave us even more. I mean, because I haven't completed my ballot yet. I was actually waiting for this moment before I finalized my ballot. So now I know I don't have to skip over, because that's what I heard some people were saying too. Well, if it's something that I don't know about, I'll just skip over it. You're basically giving you're exercising, what am I trying to say? You're giving your freedom to vote to somebody else, because you're not putting in that space what you really want to do, but you can't because I didn't take the time to actually look up what that measure or that ballot was, or that proposition was.
And what was perfect? I think it was 15, 14, and 17 that we ended up connecting together?
14, 15, 17?
Yeah. I may have it 14, 15. I might have it 15, 16, and 17. But however it went.
I don't know what you're saying.
But because of
They were
how
closely connected.
they talked about them, even though they had to do with different things, affirmative action, housing,
yeah.
And of course, 17, how they're so related.
Yeah, they definitely were. And even in our Just Moments with Pastor Curtis, we talked about how those three were going to be closely intersected and that we needed to pay attention to those. So I already had my radar up from that conversation that, okay, I need to make sure that I'm understanding this. And like we said earlier, in all thy getting, get an understanding, because that does help in going forward and knowing what you need to vote for.
So, Tyreek, Dr. Bill, Bishop Palmer, all of that, we will be reaching back out to you. I think that you have a story that folks need to hear, and maybe I'll have the duo on, you and President Baldwin on, because I mean you guys have a story to tell.
Amazing.
And my heart is for young people to be successful, to grow. That's kind of one of the reasons we did this. It's not all spiritual, but how can we get the whole man whole? You know, not just bringing people on and having them preach to you and stuff, but you know, the things that we've done since we've been on here, we've given away money to small businesses. We've had cooking people on here. We didn't have some word on here too. Don't get it twisted. We got an awesome preacher that comes on and blesses us. But I want every area to be affected. And I believe that you both have a word for our youth and for even our men, like Mr. Palmer, you didn't reach the 50 club. But there are still men that are in our age group that still don't have it together and don't believe that they can have it together. You both are examples that it's never too late.
Never.
And God has the final say. So I'm gonna say again before I get started again. Thank you both. Thank you so much, Pastor Curtis, my brother that I love with everything that's in me. I thank you for putting most of this together. I know that we did all the advertisement and stuff, but you guys did the digging. You and Tony did the digging and research, interviewing people and all of that stuff. And so I'm thankful and grateful for that you guys have a heart to do that, to share with the people. So thank you. Thank you.
There will be more to come from this whole people.
I have one event I'd like to share with you all.
Sure.
I'm the community outreach director for Mercy and Grace Prison Ministries, and we will be doing a virtual banquet coming up soon. You can reach me at michael@mercyandgrace.org, because I am an ordained minister, and that is one of the areas that I like to thrive in, is making sure that the men and women who are incarcerated get a chance to experience a word of hope. And so if you're able to reach out and let me know your interest, I can absolutely send you some information about Mercy and Grace Prison Ministries also.
Yeah, anything that you have that you're doing, and that goes the same for you, Tariq. If you guys have something, shoot it to our email or whatever, if it's a flyer or whatever, and we will post it on our page.
Yes.
We are definitely about getting information
and
out.
building others.
And our main thing is definitely networking. That's why I thought it was great when y'all saw each other and you were like, hey. So I love the whole thing of networking. So please, anything. If you guys have anything.
Tomorrow I'll be coordinating an event on PTSD for those who are formerly incarcerated. It's a PTSD event. I'll send you that information tonight. It is tomorrow, and it's a live event, and we will be talking to everyone, but it's geared towards those who are formerly incarcerated. But we know that PTSD affects a lot of people, and we want to make sure that we do our part. I've had 4 friends who done over 30 years in prison, and just this year killed themselves after they received their freedom because of COVID-19 and the adjustment phase. They didn't have as much support as they needed. And PTSD is something that we may not acknowledge. I myself suffer from PTSD as a result of incarceration. And so we want to have this discussion. So I'll definitely send you that link, and maybe you can share it with your friends and those who subscribe to your channel.
Absolutely.
And All of Us or None is holding an outreach for Proposition 17 by the at Lake Mary in Oakland, starting at about 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow. So for all those who are still watching, come out and help us distribute Proposition 17 material to keep on informing our community.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Gotta roll out.
All right. Well, we're gonna let you guys go anyway.
Yes.
We're gonna close this out. Oh, well, my stuff just disappeared, but we're gonna close it out. Let me get my face back because something happened and everything's connected. Hold on a second here. There we go. Sorry about that. Everything's connected. So my phone started going off and everything moves everything around. But I'm gonna let you guys go. I usually say I'm gonna put you in the green room, but it's been a long evening.
Yeah.
And we don't want to burden your time. So we're going to say goodbye to the people for y'all. But thank y'all. Thank you all again.
Fred and Angela, you can tell when it was good because Pastor Curtis told me it was going to be about an hour, right?
And that's right. The show is usually an hour. But I kept, when I was doing it, I kept saying, this is a special broadcast. And that's why I did it at 6 o'clock because I know.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
But it was worth it. It was worth it.
Definitely.
I'll be talking to all of y'all soon. Be blessed. Right. Love y'all.
Bless you. Love you.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I wanted to give our people, the folks that's left, because there's only a handful that's left. There's some information that I got from another friend of mine. And tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m., there's a caravan and voter rally. And this is being put on by the Sacramento Urban League. And the address is 3725 Marysville Boulevard here in Sacramento. And I believe they're going to do something actually on the 3rd as well. So that is tomorrow, 10 o'clock. That is the Sacramento Urban League that will be doing a caravan. So they'll be going through neighborhoods trying to promote people to come out and vote and get registered to vote. And that's at 10 a.m. And the address, once again, is 3725 Marysville Boulevard. There's going to be DJ out there. The news media is going to be out there. And so they're going to be registering people to vote. And also, if you filled out your ballot, you can also drop it off there. So let's get out. Let's vote. I believe I saw today that the Golden One Center is going to be open, I believe, next week. And you can start going and doing your voting right there at the Golden One Center. So once again, our guests are gone now. We had so many of them. Just a second here. But we are so thankful for them being on and all the information that was shared.
Yes.
Man, I'm just thankful and blessed.
I'm glad it was recorded. I did write a couple of notes, but I might have to go back and watch bits and pieces of what we discussed on tonight. But we gave or it was what was given was, recommendations of which props to vote yes on and which to vote no on. Do what you like. We gave the information. Now the choice is yours.
Yeah. One of the things that was said that I want to say before we go is these are personal processes, not political processes.
Yes.
So the idea is when my wife is saying that, think about how this affects someone in your family, a friend, a relative, anybody like that. And then what are your values?
Yes.
You know, what is it that you're standing on? What is it that you want? One of the great parts of the conversation that came out was when Michael talked about defunding the police and was making the example that most of us don't want to defund the police. We want police. We want law enforcement.
Yes.
But we want, and it's really some things that were there prior, and for whatever reason of how politics go or whatever, these things have changed. But we want, as what he said, reallocating funds. So we want the money that goes into the police departments to make sure they go into the right areas. It's like I was talking about houses. When you buy a house, you want a functional. Well, I do. That's what. Oh, I know you do, but I'm just saying that's, you know, some other people may say they want rooms for everything, but we said we want a functional house. So we want all of the rooms that we get to have a purpose. So it's the same thing in relocating these funds. Put them in the places where they'll do most good.
Yeah.
And take some things that police officers were never designed to do or asked to do, that it be taken back from them. It's not that we don't once again need them, but we should let them be at their optimal best at what they do. And that's supposed to be protect and serve. So what a amazing night. Amazing people that we met.
Totally.
Man.
And it was ordained too. I mean, because we weren't really even going out there the day we met Daryl.
Oh no, we were going somewhere else.
Foreign Inn and Suite. So we weren't even going in that direction and ended up there. And he was like the first person that we ran into on our visit to the Foreign Inn and Suites that day. So, you know, and that sparked about 15-20 minute conversation. And we're like, hey, we need to have him on the show. And so it all worked out. And it was, like I said, it just ordained.
Yes. So
yeah, I'm grateful that God connects us with the people who we need to be connected to at the time we need to be connected to them. So
amen. So we will not see you all on November the 3rd.
No.
Because we will be, you know, monitoring how the election is going and, you know, these different propositions that we talked about. So we won't be available the first Tuesday.
Right.
But we are working
on the third
Tuesday to get you prepared for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So
I like that.
We're going to just as this was the first time we've done something like this in this manner, that we had those many guests on and been on as long as we have.
Right.
We're gonna
be on location.
Yep, we're gonna stretch out a little bit more, and we're gonna be live from a different location.
Yes.
We won't tell you just yet until we get everything worked out. But we hope that you join us, and I don't think you're gonna be disappointed because
we won't be.
Yeah, we sure won't be. But you're gonna, you know, you may have some ideas that you may want to do for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, once again, folks, and we still got 7 people hanging strong. We were up to almost 30 people, which, like we always say, we are so appreciative.
Yes, thank you.
We do not take it for granted. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope that everything that we do and we present is a blessing. So those 7 that are still remaining, we thank you for hanging with us for almost over 3 hours. I'm even like, woo!
I know, tired of sitting.
Yeah, but thank you, and we pray that you were blessed, and you were encouraged, and you were educated, and that you will take that to the polls. All right. So until next time, y'all be blessed. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you soon. Go vote.